All right, everybody, welcome into the high noon edition of the Pugs and Company Show, heard each and every Monday through Friday, noon till, well, whenever we're done here. We do two streams each and every day. We do this high noon stream, which occurs right now at high noon. Look, see how that worked out? We named the show first. We had no idea what time we were going to name it or air it, but here we stream it. Stream it, you dummy! And then we come back at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hold on, as I move the desk around a little bit. And we do something we call Pillow Talk. Pillow Talk airs every Sunday night through Thursday night. So you can come join us for that. Pillow Talk is a little bit more freeform, a little bit more conversational. I was not happy with last night's Pillow Talk show. I was happy with the first hour. The first hour with James and I, that was great. Everybody had a good time. And the second hour, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. Got a little bit. Here's the problem. I tried to do a subject in the second hour of Pillow Talk last night that was designed to be conversational with somebody, but it turned out to just be me going, blah, 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 so it wasn't. Anyway, didn't work out. Just the first hour. If you're going to listen to the Pillow Talk show from last night, you can find all of our shows at pugscast.com. That's a direct link right to our YouTube page. Just pugscast.com. Boom, right there. It gets you to the YouTube. Just listen to the first hour. There's really, I'm not really happy. Apologize for a little bit of a late start today. We getting started about 3 or 4 minutes late, but I'll tell you why that is. All right, let's not bury the lead here. Lead, spelled L-E-D-E. I always enjoy when I see people tweet something like, I don't want to bury the lead, and they spell lead wrong. They spell it L-E-A-D. That's not how you spell lead in that context. Bury the lead is L-E-D-E. Anyway, it's January 6th. It is the anniversary of that peaceful protest that took place on Capitol grounds among patriotic, God-fearing, red, white, and blue-blooded human beings of this wonderful nation. There you go. So I framed it that way, and I'll frame it the other way. This is the year that a bunch of idiots tried to take down American democracy. There you go. That's the other side. A little something for both of you. So we're running a little bit late today because it's not that I overslept or anything. I had such a bad night's sleep, though. I don't know why. I have to. Okay, so if you've been listening to the show the last couple of days, you know that I almost didn't want to do a show today. I try not to be overtly political with this show because, as I always say, politics are private. Let's get back to a place in this country where your politics are private. You just shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. That's why there's a curtain in the voting booth. And today is a very politically divisive day. And I didn't know how I was going to do a show that is essentially a show about trending topics of the day and everything that people are talking about on this day. I didn't know how I was going to do a show without, getting into just the gross stuff that it just turns my stomach in media. If you want to hear January 6th, I blame Obama or whatever. False flag. It was a false. That was Antifa wearing Trump hats. If you want to hear that stuff, there's a million other places you can go. So what I decided to do last night was I'd do a show anyway. Whatever. I'm going to do a show. We're going to talk a little bit about January 6th because I have to stay true to the constitution of what this show is. And that is to discuss all the trending topics. But the reason we're a couple of minutes late is because I got caught up in reading. I found myself, it was 11 o'clock. Typically, I start prepping at 9 a.m. I start reading newspapers and figuring out, okay, what are we going to talk about here? What is everybody talking about? What are the big stories? And I usually wrap that up around 11:40. And that's when I come and I sit behind this desk and I start putting everything together. Well, I got caught up in so much reading And then I had to watch a whole bunch of speeches as they aired live. I watched the entire Biden speech. So I got a little bit behind it. I looked up at the clock and it was 11:15 and I'm like, holy shit, I don't have anything. I don't have anything that is non-January 6th or who was born on this day ready for today's show. So I apologize. I appreciate your patience, but that's why we signed on here a couple of minutes late. Jeez. Okay. So I got the TV on here and it's just absolutely nothing but January 6th stuff. So anyway, that's Jennifer Hernandez, you don't have to thank me for doing a show today. I enjoy doing the shows. I just don't like fighting with people on politics. I just find, because it's not about your allegiance to a party, although that's a big problem. Political parties are not sports teams. You don't root for them regardless. I mean, it's not. I struggled with the idea of how to non-divisively talk about January 6th. And I still have no answers. I still don't know how to do it. Because the problem is, we are broken as a country because at some point in the last 5 years or so, we willingly stopped accepting facts. We stopped believing in the institutions that make this country great. Everything became a conspiracy. There was no form of information that was out there, whether it be in mainstream media or online. There was no form of it that was trustworthy. And so what you have are just a bunch of people saying whatever they think is going on. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't know shit from Shinola, as they used to say. And so, I mean, we live in an era of this country where people are just brazenly saying the most jacked up stuff and other people are believing it, because you can't say, well, that's not true, because the New York Times or the Washington Post reports right here, and you can see this study was done, and these people said this, and this is the evidence that they found. None of that means anything anymore. Doesn't mean anything. You can give a fact about something. And what are facts? I don't know. If we don't believe in the institution that puts the facts out for the great unwashed, that's us, the great unwashed to consume, if you don't believe in the institution, then you don't believe in the facts. And I really don't. So we will talk a little bit about January 6th, and then we're going to get into like other stuff, because I was able to find a whole bunch of other stuff that happened on this day. And what is this day? Welcome to the show. High noon, January 6th, the year of our Lord 2022. It is the 6th day of the year. See, January 1st month, 6th day. It is the 6th day of the year. 359 days remain until the end of the year. 359 days remain to make this a good one. All right. If you're a pessimist, 359 days for the worst possible stuff imaginable to go down. All right, so what happened on this day? Why is today such a cool day? Which, in America, it's not. In America, this will never be such a cool day. It just won't. This day is never going to go away. 1 year ago, it was a historic day in this country. It is never going to go away. But on this day in 1929, don't we need this? Couldn't we use some more of these? Mother Teresa arrived in Calcutta, India, to begin her work among India's poorest and sick people. Should be Mother Teresa Day. But it's not. It's Capital Insurrection Day. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Capital Peaceful Protest Day. In 1994, this is a fun one. I remember where I was when I heard this. I was in my car. And it came over, I want to say it came over about 5, maybe 6 o'clock at night. I was in traffic heading home from work. And it came across the radio that I was listening to. And it just sounded like the strangest story. And I didn't think anything of it. And then suddenly for the next couple of years, it's all we were involved. It was all we cared about. It was all until the trials and all. On this day in 1994, American figure skater Nancy Kerrigan was attacked in Detroit, injured by an assassin hired by, we now know, her rival Tanya Harding. Or I'm sorry to be more, Paul Gillooly. who is now, I believe, going by the name. No, wait, was he Paul Stone? And now he's Paul Gill. I don't know. For some reason, Gillooly is the name. I think he was Paul Gillooly, and now he's changed his name to Paul Stone because he doesn't want to be remembered as the guy that hired a bunch of thugs, Shane Stant, to attack Nancy Kerrigan. This was a shocking thing. This was like a moment where something unthinkable happened. So you had Nancy Kerrigan, who was the best American figure skater, vying for the Olympic team, and then you had Tanya Harding, who was, one of America's greatest figure skaters at the time, and she felt that Nancy was her rival, and so she was very upset about it. So her husband went out and hired two buffoons to attack Nancy Kerrigan, breaking her knee. The attempt was to break her knee and force her out of any and all competition. And so as Nancy Kerrigan was getting ready to skate in Detroit, two guys came running through the tunnels and they bashed her leg with a steel bar, a steel bar. I don't know if it was a crowbar or it was just a steel bar. It was a steel bar. They bashed her leg. They got out. They jumped in a car. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy. I mean, and then we thought, wow, what the hell is going on with people? And then a couple of days later, we learned that, oh my God, these suspects are somehow linked to Tanya Harding, another figure skater. Oh, and then it became the soap opera to end all soap operas. I, Tanya, the movie that was made a couple of years ago, starring now I can't think of her name, the beautiful Australian actress who kind of looks like Jamie Presley. And who's the other one she looks like? She looks like Jamie Presley and somebody else. Anyway, beautiful, what is her name? Why? This is a part of getting older. This is a part you start, but she's relevant. She's modern. Doesn't matter. She plays, now I can't remember who she plays in the DC comic universe. Harley Quinn. She plays Harley Quinn. Good movie. I, Tanya's a good movie. I would suggest knowing a little bit of the backstory before you jump into I, Tanya, because maybe it might be difficult for you to truly get context for what the Margot Robbie. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Jennifer. You people are here to help. I appreciate it. Yeah, Margot Robbie played Tanya Harding in a way that for the first time in my life, I actually felt sympathy for her. Now, some of you who know the old show, the old Pugs and Kelly show, you know that I had a very big public fight with Tanya Harding. She threw headphones at me. She called me an MFer. No, I think she called Kelly an MFer. That went down. She was fighting. She had Tanya Harding had a very curious career post. She cashed in on her fame. She was able to. Whatever. She decided to be a female boxer, a foxy boxer, and they did this boxing match in the parking lot of Silver City, which is a gentleman's club here in Dallas. And she was fighting some girl from Mexico. And of course, when they came to us and said, hey, do you want to have Tanya Harding on the show? We went, yes, put her in here. I would love to talk to Tanya Harding. So Tanya comes. Oh, and they said, but here, there's one restriction. You can only talk about her boxing career. You can't talk about anything that happened. And we went, yeah. Totally. Let's have her in here. That'd be great. We would never ask her about Nancy Kerrigan. With, of course, the full intention of going, just get her in the fucking room. Just get her in the room, close the door, get her live on air, and then all bets are off, people. Oh, what? The dirtbag publicist who has clients as righteous as Tanya Harding will never work with our show again? Oh, my God. How will we ever get, it's like ridiculous. It's like, this isn't like somebody who's going to deny us Tom Hanks if he's available. If you're working with Tanya Harding, okay, you're not really someone that we need to be concerned about. You're not an A-list Hollywood publicist. So lying to them is fine. Now, for you young broadcasters out there, if you're dealing with a big PR firm who is bringing big stars and booking, don't lie to them. Don't lie to them. Be friendly with them. Find out their birthdays. Send them presents on their birthday. Make sure you're in good standing with, again, for you young broadcasters out there or streamers, make sure you're in good standing with the people who actually get good guests. But if they're like trotting through, hey, it's, would you like John Wayne Bobbitt or would you like Tanya Hart? If you're dealing with those publicists, all bets are off. So we get Tanya Harding in studio. and she sits down, and she's I mean, you could tell that she was guarded. And my very first impression of Tanya Harding is, "Ooh, this is an angry young person. This is an angry." She sits down and she smiles, but the smile is forced. And then her resting face is, "I hate everything about what I'm doing right now." So there were vibes that were given off when she sat down. She sits down. We start a couple of seconds. "Hi, Tanya. Welcome in. Oh, wow, look, it's Tanya Harding, everybody. Tanya Harding." And she's, "Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here." So, Tanya, tell us about this big fight that's coming up Friday night at Silver City. You're going to be in the parking lot, right? You're going to be, are you a boxer now? So, like, well, yeah, la, 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 la. And we give them the promotion because fair is fair. And then as soon as we stop that, Kelly, my partner, goes, "So, Tanya, do you have any contact with, or have you had any contact with Nancy Kerrigan since the incident?" And Tanya's response to Kelly was, through a gritted teeth and a forced smile, "Oh, I don't think anybody wants to hear about that." And I jumped in and said, "No, Tanya, that's pretty much all anybody wants to hear about." "Well, I think you guys were informed that that's not really a part of my life that I like to discuss." And then Kelly says something to the effect of, why the hell would we want to talk to you?" And she goes, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." And then she started yelling. I don't even know what it was. She just got really angry. And then she stood up and she took her headphones off and she whipped her headphones across the studio in an attempt to injure me. This is a violent woman. And then as she walked out the door, Kelly was saying something to her that I don't remember because I was just so blown away by the moment. And I was like, "Fuck you." Kelly, she closes the door. I don't even know that we dumped it. Hey, that's news. Tanya Harding loses her shit on a local radio show. But she had to have experienced that before. I can't believe that Kelly and I would be the only people that she would do a radio interview with. Although maybe she didn't do many radio interviews. Maybe this was just specific because she was trying to get people to watch her fight in a parking lot of a strip club on a cold Friday night. But yeah, that's what she did. Oh, and by the way, fun fact, I went out to the show. We went out to the boxing match. And we got right there ringside because we were friendly with the Silver City people at the time. And right there ringside, like I'm right in her corner. And I wanted her to see me. I wanted her to see me standing right there within eyesight of her. And the fight starts and she comes out and she immediately gets her ass kicked. She just got destroyed by this little Mexican girl, this little Mexican knocked her down like 3 times in the first round. She just couldn't block anything, never got a punch off, took like a dozen shots directly to the face. I mean, she's bloodied. She's 3 times, no knockdown rule, apparently. I remember she got knocked down 3 times, and then between the first and the second round, they threw in the towel. She gave up. It was like, well, that's what happens. I hope they paid her well because that was humiliating. Yeah, so that's my Tanya Harding story. Although I'm not a fan of Nancy Kerrigan either. Nancy Kerrigan revealed herself to be kind of a bitch. Also on this day, let's see here. We like to cover plane crashes, and there were a couple. In 1960, National Airlines Flight 2511 is destroyed in midair by a bomb while en route to New York City from Miami. Never heard of that one. I've never heard, you would think that a domestic commercial airline flight that was bombed, we'd have heard about. But no, I'd never heard of National Airlines Flight 2511. In 1993, another plane crash. 4 people are killed when a Lufthansa CityLine flight crashed on approach to Charles de Gaulle Airport in France. So there you go. And a couple of birthdays as well. Today, born on this day in 1938. Now, this guy ain't really a celebrity, although he's a celebrity in Italia. He's a big Italian, a pop star. Adrian Celestano is celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1938. What would that make him? That would make him 85? I don't know. I don't want to do math. Like I said, I've been reading, and this is something I don't care. So, Pugs, why are you talking about some Italian pop star? Because Adrian Celestano is a dude that I just happened to stumble across. And me and my 12-year-old son love. We love this guy. He has a song called Prison Cola Ensign Cuso. That's right. Say it. Try and spell it. Prisen Ensign Kuzo. Prisen, Prisen. And then I'm lost, but whatever. If you were to just start to type that into Google, if you put Adrian Celestano and then just wrote Prisen, Prisen, the song will come up. And it is the greatest. It is the greatest, most nutty song you've ever heard. And apparently the story with the song is that Adrian Celestano was an Italian pop star, and he became upset that a lot of English speaking pops music was trending, or not trending, but selling in Italy. Like Italian audiences were listening to music by the Beatles and by bands that spoke English, that sang in English. And that made him mad as an Italian pop star. So he decided to create a song that is made up of complete gibberish. All the words in the song is a fake language. He made up a language and he cut it as a single and released it in Italy. And it became a huge smash, even though nobody, Prison Ensign Kuzo is not a word. It's just something that he made up. And it was a goof. And now, years later, people hear it. Oh, it's an Italian pop star, and they listen to the lyrics, and you just assume it's Italian. It's not. It's complete gibberish. And the song is, like I said, the song is funny, but above and beyond it being funny, it's catchy as hell, man. It's got a great beat. It's got a driving drum thing that happens in it. It's really cool. I'm surprised some hip hop guys haven't rediscovered Prison Ensign Kuzo and done it as not a cover, but used the beat or something. I will say this: recently, the current Captain Morgan's rum commercials that air during NFL games feature the song. The Captain Morgan rum commercials that depict a party scene where people are in a bar having fun and they're all drinking, they're all drinking well, I guess it would be Captain Morgan. They're all drinking Captain Morgan and having fun and all. The music that's playing that they're all dancing to is Prison Ensign Kuzo, which is the song that Adrian Celestano is known for. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I challenged my son for $100. I said, because we used to listen to it constantly, and we could sing like half of it with the gibberish words correctly. I challenged my son. I said, I'll give you $100 if by the end of the summer, this was a couple of summers ago, I'll give you $100 if by the end of the summer you can sing this entire song in the gibberish, in the original gibberish language. And I think I told this story before, and I think I said that he did. I'm not sure that he did it. I don't think that he ever actually did it. I am sure that I never gave him the $100. But, whenever I owe him money, we always sometimes bank that in other ways. Like, okay, I bet you $50. I lost $50. Do you want the $50 or do you just want to go to Dave and Buster's? I'll go to Dave and Buster's. So that's how I pay off a lot of my debts. Let's see. I'm just looking here at the chat room for a moment. Okay, also celebrating a birthday today. By the way, happy birthday, Adriana Celestano. All right, someone we all know, born on this day in 1955, Mr. Bean. Happy birthday, Rowan Atkinson, English actor, producer, screenwriter, best known as Mr. Bean. Happy birthday to Mr. Bean. I love Mr. Bean. I was a little bit old to truly appreciate Mr. Bean when he first broke onto the scene in the early 90s. But then in retrospect, I watched some Mr. Bean stuff probably, years after the kids' generation had already embraced him. That guy is a tremendous physical comedian. He is Chaplin-esque. I don't mean to get like all. I like Charlie Chaplin. I like physical comedy. I love Chevy Chase in the early Saturday Night Live. I love John Belushi. Chris Farley was a great physical comedian. Peter Sellers. I love physical comedy. Rowan Atkinson is one of the great physical comedians of all time. He's so funny. So happy birthday, Mr. Bean. Happy birthday, Rowan Atkinson. Born on this day in 1960. The most handsome football player besides Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. I think number 3 on the handsome football player draft in the first round. Pugs and Company High Noon Edition select in the handsome football player draft Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo out of Eastern Illinois University, I think. I don't know. In the second round of the handsome football player draft, the the delegate from the Pugs and Company show, High Noon Edition, select Tom Brady. Tom Brady in the second round. In the third round of the handsome football player draft, the delegate from Pugs and the representative from Pugs and Company High Noon Edition selects the birthday boy, Howie Long. Howie Long. If you ever saw pictures of Howie Long back when he was playing, back when he was a scary-ass defensive monster, he was great. A scary-ass defensive titan for the Oakland Raiders. He was too good looking to be a defensive guy. He had the face of a Hollywood star, and so well, I don't need to go into that. Pugs is gay. It's official. No, I'm not. I'm just completely comfortable with who I am, and I can recognize a man, and I can go, damn, that guy's better looking than me. I'm fair. I'm honest. I understand it. Happy birthday, Howie Long. Born on this day in 1960. Born on this day in 1968. Dead in 2019. Boy, this was a shocker. John Singleton, American director, producer, screenwriter, all that stuff. John Singleton, Boys in the Hood, burst onto the scene as a young filmmaker. Boys in the Hood, incredible film. Rosewood. He's done a lot of stuff. If you're unfamiliar with the work of John Singleton, you should check it out. John Singleton died in 2019 suddenly of a heart attack. Very, very, very sad. Just in the prime of his career. I mean, he was not done as a director. He was one of the big name directors in Hollywood, and he just drops dead. So happy birthday, and we miss you, John Singleton. Born on this day in 1969. Daryl from The Walking Dead. Norman Reedus, actor, model, all that stuff. How is Norman Reedus a model? Have you ever seen Norman Reedus's model pictures? This is where it started. You know, I've been questioning openly the attraction that women seem to have for Pete Davidson, because I look at Pete Davidson and I go, that's not an attractive guy. If I was with a girl and someone who looked like Pete Davidson sidled up, I would be like, get out of here, you scrawny, sunken-eyed, big-bagged, weird, tattooed dude. Get away from her. She's not interested in you. Yeah, someone like Howie Long sidles up, and I'm like, okay, now I'm in trouble. She's going home with Howie Long. But I wouldn't see Pete Davidson as a threat. He doesn't. He's skinny. He's emaciated. He's got sunken, big, giant, weird eyes. He's funny. Don't get me wrong. I think he's funny. But I don't get the Pete Davidson thing. And now, a man of my advanced age, I look at the landscape, the sexual attraction landscape, and it's just littered with dudes like Pete Davidson. Machine Gun Kelly is a sex symbol? Are you kidding me? What happened to Brad Pitt? Machine Gun Kelly and Pete Davidson are sex symbols. I think this nonsense all started when Calvin Klein made Norman Reedus a model. Norman Reedus is not a handsome man. No, I have interviewed Norman Reedus. I like Norman Reedus. I like Norman Reedus. I mean, I like Daryl. I like the character. I like Boondock Saints, with another movie that he was in. I like Norman Reedus as an actor. I think he's a cool actor. And I don't know that I like him as a person, because actually, now that I think about it, we've interviewed him twice, and he's not charismatic. He doesn't say much, and he's just like, so tell us about Boondock Saints. I really enjoyed that. It was a good one. That's him. That's it. So I don't know if I can say I like him. I like him as an actor. But it all started, he was a Calvin Klein model. And how was that? Look, Antonio Sabato Jr., the Calvin Klein model. Mark Wahlberg, the Calvin Klein. I get that. I get, oh God, there's Pugs. He can rattle off the names of Calvin Klein underwear models. He's gay. No, I just observe pop culture, and I understand these things, and they're all in here. You want me to rattle off Victoria's Secret models, because I can do them 3-1 on Calvin Klein models. No, I'm like, no, I can't actually. No, I'm trying to think of Victoria's Secret. Playboy models, we can do it that way. Well, the Playboy models, I can name Playboy models. But Norman Reedus is Daryl from Walking Dead is celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1969. Look, I'm glad they must have game or something, but I don't know what women find attractive anymore. I don't. And I believe it started with Norman Reedus. All this, like 15, 20 years ago, he became a sex symbol. And it's like, what, really? What? And now we got Pete Davidson and Machine Gun Kelly. Born on this day in 1979, a true beauty, Julie Chen. Julie Chen of CBS News, married to the all-powerful, or once all-powerful, Les Moonves. Les Moonves ran CBS until I think he got Me Too'd or something. I don't think he directly got Me Too'd, but I think he was like responsible for some Me Tooism that was going on underneath him. So he stepped down. But Julie Chen, born on this day in 1979. She's a cutie boy. Born on this day in 1982. Eddie Redmayne. He's one of the hot young actors. Eddie Redmayne, born on this day in 1982. Born on this day in 1983, hockey player Adam Burrish. Born on this day in 1984, the great and powerful Kate McKinnon. There you go. Those are birthdays. Dead on this day, Snyder from One Day at a Time. Pat Harrington died on this day in 2016. Snyder. Now, I lived in a building once that had a maintenance dude who lived on premises. And if you needed him, he lived a couple of doors down. If you needed him, you could just knock on his door and he'd come down. And that's the way it was supposed to play out. But really, it was more like you'd knock on his door. What? Hey, it's me in 2C. I was wondering if you could come down. I can't, my sink won't turn off and the water is just pouring out of it. All right, I'll be right down. And then he'd never show up. He would never be right down. So the idea in One Day at a Time that Pat Harrington had no knock privileges with the Romano household. This is like the guy who lives in the basement next to the boiler room in One Day at a Time. And he could just walk in to your apartment at any time, no matter what. Who was the other famous 1970s apartment building maintenance guy? Bookman. Remember Bookman from Good Times? Bookman, he was the worst. Pat Harrington, though, Schneider actually seemed like he did stuff. All right, so dead on this day in 2016, Pat Harrington. Also dead on this day in 2021, just 1 year ago today, American democracy. All right, we will move on. Of course, I'm kidding. What day is it today, right? So we got to do that. It's Three Kings Day. Three Kings, or the Epiphany. Why is this important? Because Three Kings Day or the Epiphany, it's also Bean Day. So eat some beans, I guess, if you want to do that. If you're selling farts, like we talked about on Pillow Talk a couple of nights ago, because apparently there's a market now for hot chicks farting into mason jars and selling them. Beans might be a good way to start. Eat a bunch of beans and sell your farts. That's the world we live in. Thirsty dudes online just buying hot Instagram models' farts. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. What day is it today? It is Three Kings Day, or the Feast of the Epiphany in the Christian tradition. Catholic, really. I mean, I think it's pretty much only a Catholic thing. I don't know that evangelicals are tonight going to have the Feast of the Epiphany, because that's foreign Christian stuff. That ain't American Christian. That ain't American Jesus. That's like that's classic Jesus. That's not American Jesus. That's not Republican Jesus, as some people like to say. But why is the Feast of the Epiphany important? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's supposed to be the day. It's the designated day around the world that you got to take your Christmas shit down. The 6th is the official Christian, if you believe that this is a Christian season, January 6th is the end of the Epiphany, the Feast of the Three Kings. This is the day when you're supposed to have your Christmas lights all taken down. You're supposed to have your tree down. You go any further than January 6th and you're an idiot. That's what today is, Epiphany Day. It is also, according to National Day, it's take your decorations down day, which is the same thing. Take your decorations down day in America, or the Epiphany in the classic Christian tradition, which signifies the end of the Christmas season. Get rid of it. Take it all down. E here, Mr. Sunglasses, my partner in crime here at the One Percenter compound, he took his Christmas stuff down. He took his Christmas stuff down way too early, but he was going out of town. So maybe that's why he did it. But our Christmas stuff at this house, at the One Percenter compound, it all came down, I want to say maybe on the 27th it didn't even make it through New Year's. It was gone before New Year's, which was, kind of sad. I will say this. I've told you all, I'm running now. I'm jogging every night. I'm trying to get my 3 miles in every day. I want to get at least 1.5 miles in every single day of this year. That's my resolution. I won't make it. I know I won't make it, but at least I'm starting out with the intention to make it. So I'm yesterday I cracked 3 miles. So I'm back up to my average, what I consider to be a really good workout, which is a 3 mile run every single day. By the way, from where I live, 3 miles is a Mockingbird to Lemon down Douglas Avenue. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And then the walk to Douglas Avenue is the cool down. It's like where you get to walk there and then you run that whole stretch. 3 miles exactly. Well, not exactly. 2.92 or something miles, but still it works because you count the cool down walk. This neighborhood has not taken. I'm actually going to be worried tonight. I'm going to wait to run tonight. Well, not wait to, because I typically do run at night. So I'm going to run tonight. And one of the things that have been just absolutely so incredible the last couple of days are all the Christmas decorations. I mean, just running through this neighborhood. These are like super rich people in $10 million homes, right? They pay thousands of dollars for their Christmas decorations, and they're all still up. We here, of course, we've taken ours down, but the majority of people seem to still have their stuff up. And oh, is it beautiful running through this neighborhood? You see these like I said, every house in this neighborhood is decorated like the fanciest hotel in whatever city you live in. In the fanciest downtown 5-star hotel, whatever their decorations are, that is what every house no cheap plastic Santas on rooftops and stuff. No, everything looks like the Four Seasons. Everything looks like, the Mondrian or something like that. Everything looks so beautiful. So I'll be interested to see if tonight these people in this neighborhood who are Christian observe the Christian law of the Epiphany, which is to take your shit down by January 6th. All right, that's what today is. All right, so let's get into it, huh? Shall we? Shall we get into it? Let me see here. Albert says, I live in a neighborhood of idiots. Some have Christmas lights up 365 days a year. Yeah, that's there are people who do that. Jeff says that Pete Davidson looks like a young Beetlejuice. He really does. Hey, and Byron Granger points out the symmetry that it's Bean Day and it's also Rowan Martin's birthday. Not an accident. Isn't that look at that. I didn't even put that together. Thank you. See, I rely on you people, the smart people in the chat room here, contributing in a way that you have no idea how important it is. All right, so here we go. So let's talk a little bit about today, shall we? Because you got to talk about the things that are trending and these other shit that are trending. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go through a few of these trending topics that are concerning the events of 1 year ago today here in the United States of America, the greatest country on earth. And I'm going to just talk a little. And man, I don't want to be divisive. I don't want to be divisive. So I'm going to try and keep it as not even, because I don't think there's a way to keep it even. I don't think there's a way to keep the discussion even. I think that it's obvious what happened. And as I was talking about earlier, our denial of facts in this country, our lack of trust in institutions. I mean, these are all huge problems. The idea that we have supposed information distribution services, whether they online or, cable news or whatever, the fact that we have these who are willingly engaging in misinformation and sabotaging institutions with falsehoods is a real problem. So we're going to talk, you know what? I'm just going to go through what's trending. Biden is trending number one on most platforms because Biden gave a speech this morning. President Joe Biden, duly elected President Joe Biden. He gave a speech, and basically to sum it up, what I thought was the most important thing. Well, first of all, he never mentioned Trump. He never mentioned Trump. He referred to him as the former president, but he did go to the mats with him. He did. He mentioned the former president. He said the former president 16 times in the speech, which I would have liked to have him called out by name, but I understand why he didn't. I also understand why he's being the former president, at least so far, almost entirely blacked out by media. Thankfully, even the most sketch of cable news outlets do not seem, I could be wrong because I don't watch it a lot, but from trends and from what people are talking about, there is very little being provided in the way of that dude's point of view on things. No, he was supposed to have a press conference today. He decided that he wouldn't do a press conference today. I mean, I guess somebody got to him and said, look, dude, you need to dip your toe in the water and you need to see that there is a tide that is turning here. And there is a tide. And we'll talk about that because those people are trending as well. One of the things, or the most important thing that I think Joe Biden said, the part of his speech that I believe will be the one that is remembered, because this is going to be a memorable speech. This is going to be a historical presidential speech. I don't know that it'll be in the vein of a day that'll live in infamy or fear. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself, or, whatever, four square. 7 years ago, or ask not. I don't know that it's going to be in the vein of those things, but it was a pretty important speech that they made today. And what I think the takeaway from it will be is when Biden said today, you can't love America only when you win. You can't obey laws only when it's convenient. And you can't call yourself a patriot when you embrace lies. The last one, you can't call yourself a patriot when you embrace lies. I may have that wrong. It may be you can't call yourself a patriot when you deny facts or something, but I gave you the soul of it. That's the intent of it. I was listening to it and I was doing something else. And as he said it, I went, oh, that's good. And I like wrote it down. So once again, you can't love America only when you win. You can't obey laws only when it's convenient. And you can't call yourself a patriot when you embrace lies. And there's not a single person that was there on January 6th who was a patriot. Those people were not patriots. Those are people who decided that American democracy did not work out in their favor and that they were going to say, fuck American democracy. And that's what we had. So Biden is trending. I'm not a huge Biden fan. I think that I don't like that he emerged from the field of candidates, Democrat candidates, to square up against Trump, but I understand why. It would have been really difficult for, I think. Well, who else was there? There was Buttigieg. He wasn't going to win. Buttigieg wasn't going to win. Doesn't matter how, impressed some people were by him. Kamala, she wasn't going to win. Although I did like Kamala in the beginning. I thought, man, yeah, that's what we need. We need a head shaker girl. We need someone who's going, that's what we need. We need to just go in the complete opposite direction from the country club dude that we've had in there for the last 4 years. But Biden won. They decided Biden was the one to run, and he got the votes, and there you go. And he actually won the Electoral College too. So but I'm not. I don't want to. Do you want him to run again? Not particularly. No. But also, I'm not sure that I want Kamala Harris. I would like for someone new, somebody less divisive. I would even be down with a Republican challenging him. I would love to see someone like Adam Kinzinger challenge him. I would love to see someone like, Dan Crenshaw challenge him. I would love to see some Liz Cheney. There are people, as somebody who considers themselves a progressive moderate, who almost always votes for the Democratic candidate, not because I'm a Democrat, because I would never in a million years declare a political party, but only because I look at the two people and it's always lesser of two evils for me. And the evil that I see almost consistently coming from the Republican side are people who are pandering to the worst among us. They are saying the Republican Party for the last decade or so has seemingly done, and when it stopped? It stopped when John McCain was running against Barack Obama, and that woman at that town hall meeting got up and asked a question, and she said, Barack Obama is a Muslim and he was born in a foreign country, and John McCain stopped her as a Republican, and he said, look, lady, I know it sounds good. He didn't say that, but basically what he was saying was, look, I know that sounds good to you, and I know that's what you want to believe, but that's not true. He's a good man. When John McCain did that, that was the end. That was the last time any Republican. I mean, before that, I was a Republican supporter. I supported John McCain in that election until the very end. I was a John McCain. I was a Republican voter right up until the moment that he named Sarah Palin as his vice president. And at that point, I went, nope, I'm out. Okay, John, you've upset me here. You know she's not qualified, and you know you've only got her on the ticket because she appeals to that worst among us category of people. And maybe worst among us, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say worst among us. See, that's part of the divisiveness that I'm trying to. But, thankfully, we've got through it. And no, actually, we're not through it. Who am I kidding? We're not through it. This is just the first anniversary. And yes, we've got a different regime. Again, a regime that I'm not particularly enthralled with, but it seems to be a little bit safer than the just balls out craziness that was going on. Pugs, what do you mean you like Dan Crenshaw? Well, I don't. If it came down to like a primary where, the former guy is running again and he's running against someone like Dan Crenshaw, yes, I'm going to vote for Dan Crenshaw because this is a guy who at least has shown in recent months that he's had it with what's now being called the GQP, the former GOP, which is now like leaning hard into the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Lorena Bobberts and the Jim Jordans and the Matt Gaetz and the Paul Gossards and the Josh Hawleys and you got to be able to call that crazy stuff out. That's crazy stuff. That's their crazy stuff. There isn't. And that's the problem. It seems to me that there is a wing of the United States political electorate who is looking for people who are not inspiring them and who are not showing them the greatness of America and how we can do this if we all pull together. That is not of any appeal, it seems, to the rank and file GOP today. The rank and file wants somebody who's going to confirm for them all of their worst beliefs, not do what John McCain did, which is tell that old lady that, no, Barack Obama is a Christian and he was born in Hawaii. Stop it. Nobody is willing to do that anymore. They've decided, it's just easier to tell these nutbags. Because come on, that is not divisive to say that the GQP, the QAnon people, are nuts. And and that's the point I'm trying to make. That is not the entirety of the GOP. It's not. There have been, over the last couple of months, people stepping forward to be members of the GOP who have stepped forward, who have started to show that, okay, enough is enough. This is crazy. Now, there's still a whole bunch of really scary, crazy people that are, and I don't even know if they're crazy. Maybe they're just duplicitous. Maybe they're just trying to hold on to power so desperately, and they look at their, congressional district, and they look at the people, and they have no faith in the people in their congressional district. So instead of trying to inspire them on the local level, what they do is they just lean hard into all the craziness. And that's how you get someone to vote for you. That's how you win Georgia's 6th district or whatever. Kamala Harris is trending because she has described January 6th alongside Pearl Harbor and 9/11 as dates that echo throughout history. And I've already seen a couple. Oh, yeah, I bet it's just like 9/11. Well, it certainly doesn't have the death toll of 9/11. Certainly doesn't have the implications. It could have, but it didn't have the implications because it was squashed. The January 6th events. It certainly does not have the historical implications that the bombing of Pearl Harbor did. I mean, that caused our entrance into World War II. But for Americans, it was a day when our Congress was attacked by American citizens, and a whole bunch more of us watched it on live TV. I didn't move. I called it sick that day. I, I did. I didn't go into work that day. I was like, oh my God, I got to watch this. So, I mean, I guess it's easy to say it wasn't as bad as 9/11. Well, no, not from a body count, but that's not all that we measure, incidents by. It was certainly the greatest test of American democracy ever. And here we are a year later, and that system is still being tested. We'll find out. The January 6th committee is working. Merrick Garland, we listened to a little bit of him, Attorney General Merrick Garland, come out yesterday and talk about how, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know I've been hiding in my turtle shell, because he kind of looks like a turtle to me. Him and Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell, they all look like turtles. There's also another guy. There's also another guy in Congress who looks just like a turtle. He's the king turtle. I can't think of his name. I'll find him and I'll share that with you. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll do a pillow talk segment. Politicians who look like turtles, because I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of them. So Merrick Garland comes out yesterday and he says, I know I've been hiding in my turtle shell, and I know that I've been taking a lot. Again, this is me encapsulating what he said. This is me just, this is not his exact words. He speaks much prettier and much fancier than I do. But he said more is coming. He's like, don't be discouraged that we haven't, gone after big fish. We are in the middle of a thing here. We are getting them. And something interesting that I read about Merrick Garland was that, he's the guy that got Timothy McVeigh, Terry Nichols, and the Unabomber. And in the long investigations that led up to those three arrests and all of that stuff, there were zero leaks. There was absolutely, and I saw somebody posted a criticism of Merrick Garland back in the days of the Oklahoma City bombing, where he was leading the investigation into it. And the criticisms were the exact same criticisms of today, of Merrick Garland does not seem to be engaged. He's hiding in his turtle shell, all that. And apparently, if history is anything to believe, his investigations don't leak. His people just stay absolutely silent until the hammer drops. And he came out yesterday and he basically said, there is no level of involvement in this that we are not currently pursuing. So what that tells you is that although he hasn't, sent handcuffs out to the likes of Bannon or Stone or all these, or Trump or, whoever, he let America know yesterday that, just sit tight, wait for it, as the kids say. So that was something. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Democracy is trending for obvious reasons. If we don't believe that we have free and fair elections, regardless of the facts during audits and inspections and trials and all that, if we still don't believe in free and fair elections in this country, then democracy is done. And if you don't believe I don't think it's that these people don't believe in democracy. I think they just say they believe in democracy because America is a democracy and they love America and they love saying democracy, but I don't know that they truly understand the limitations and sometimes the uncomfortableness of a democracy, that a democracy is about all of the people having their say and not just a specific segment of people getting everything they want. Democracy is difficult. And, I believe in America. I believe in democracy. Hey, let's hang Mike Pence. See, those two things don't go together. Those two things. So democracy is trending for that very reason. People are discussing the state of American democracy. The 14th Amendment is trending. See, trust me, we're going to get through these. There's a lot of silly stuff we're going to talk about here in a moment. 14th Amendment is trending because it includes, what is the 14th Amendment? All persons born or now, I had to write this down. I don't know the 14th Amendment. My bar trick, my bar trick is when somebody starts talking to me about the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. Well, I'm a big supporter of the First Amendment. I am, I am really into the Second Amendment. Yeah, I know. I always ask them, what's the Third Amendment? Okay, so the first and the second, the two that appeal to you and that you've heard Fox News talk about. But what is the third? What is the fourth? What is the fifth? I know the full Bill of Rights. I won't bore you with it, but I did it a couple of days ago. The 14th Amendment, I did not know. I was like, yeah, I tap out. I'm sorry. I do not have the United States Constitution in its full form committed to my memory. I'm not one of these douche tards that walk around with a pocket version of the Constitution so that you can whip it out and look things up. No, that doesn't mean that you know the Constitution. It means that you're admitting you don't know the Constitution, but you're willing to argue about shit you don't know about. And at a moment's notice, you could pull it out and you could check and see what it is that you need to argue. Stop that. I hate that. That is one of these fake American patriot bullshit moves. It's right up there with your social media platforms having a flag. Look at my flag. I love the flag, so you know I gotta be right because I got a flag behind me. Stop it. Stop pouring out the American flag. People died for that. The American flag is a beautiful thing, and it's a symbol to the rest of the world of the greatness that these people on the planet Earth can achieve and become. Stop wearing your American flag as a t-shirt on the 4th of July, pouring beer all over you. Stop it. Stop whoring out the American flag. 14th Amendment says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, and that the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness. It goes on. That is basically the first opening stanza. That's the opening line of the 14th Amendment. But the reason the 14th Amendment is trending right now is because there's also a clause in it that says there's a clause that basically bars anybody convicted of insurrection from ever holding or running for public office. So people are talking about, all right, it's time for us to lean heavy on the 14th Amendment here because we've got these midterm elections coming and we've got, let's get some of these convictions rolling because we do not need, people are saying that, just your mere presence at the January 6th Capitol, whatever, just your mere presence should preclude you from running for office. Well, that's bullshit. That, even me, I'm like, no, that is not. Now, if you broke a window and ran into, the representatives' chambers and smeared your own shit on the walls, then yeah, no, you cannot run for Congress. I'm sorry. That is not, we're going to enact the 14th Amendment on your ass. But if you were simply there, I refuse to believe that everybody that was in attendance at that rally, they were all Trump supporters and they all didn't like the election results. But I'm not one of these people who believes that every single person just solely for being there is somehow now no longer considered American. I think that there were probably a lot of people out there who were there for the right reasons. They truly believed that there was a problem, whether they were misled. I believe they were wrong, but that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I might be wrong about half the shit I'm talking about right now, and some of you might hear me just say that and nod their head and go, yeah, you are. People are wrong at times. Not everyone who showed up should be barred from ever pursuing, local office or national office or whatever it is. However, if you went inside, you are. If you went inside, if after the windows were broken and the people stormed in, if you were one of the people inside, sorry. Nope. At that point, it becomes something else. It is no longer just you gathering to show your support and to be a part of the force of the will of the people. That is no longer the case the minute you went in there. So that's why the 14th Amendment is trending. Oh, look at this. We got E coming in here. E, the artist, is joining us. What a wonderful surprise this is. It has been so long.
It has been. Just getting some stuff done.
Well, I appreciate you dropping by. We were today I was explaining, the difficult day for this kind of show because we try not to be politically divisive, and yet everything that's trending is about something that is politically divisive. It was about the epicenter of political divisiveness in this country. So we're just running through some of the things. We're getting it out of the way, some of the trending topics that are concerning January 6th. But, you got any thoughts on it? You got anything you want to front load or you want to just stay away from it?
I saw, President Biden's speech this morning. He seemed like he was pretty intent on blaming Trump.
Yeah, not naming him by name. He mentioned the former president 16 times in the speech. We talked a little bit about that already. One of the parts in the speech that I really liked, and I think it's the part that is probably going to be echoed throughout history, is when Biden said, you can love America. You can't love America only when you win. You can't obey laws only when it's convenient. And you can't call yourself a patriot when you embrace lies. I thought that was a really strong line. I was like, okay, there you go. Never said Trump, though. Only referred to him as the former president, which I
I wonder
understand.
why.
Well,
I mean, what's the point?
it's complicated. It's political. It's I appreciate it from this standpoint. He is essentially, that name today is essentially being blacked out. And unless Fox News has switched. I was watching Fox News early this morning to see how they were covering all of this. But his response to Biden's speech isn't trending. It's like nobody cares about it. It's not being reported anywhere. It's not being front loaded. It is almost like there is a decision made by people who are in the power to do these things to say, you know what, let's put him in the back row today. Let's just not let him have anything to do with today. And let's talk about what happened without this guy. And that's why I think maybe he did that. It's one of the reasons that he did that. He didn't want to, promote that name, that individual on this day. So just refrain. And he's done that in the past. He almost never, I don't think he's ever called him President Trump. I think he always refers to him as the former president.
Yeah, so maybe just so he doesn't get the satisfaction of hearing his name.
Yeah, but honestly, it is that simplistic, reductive conclusion is absolutely true. That is really sometimes the most simplest thing is the truth. Don't get his ego anymore. Don't say his name, because honestly, he's all about his name. Putting it on giant buildings, putting it on hats, putting it on whatever. He is all about me, my family name, my family brand.
So he's just kind of frosting his cookies.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
He put out a statement. I ain't gonna read it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit. Let's put him on the back burner today. So we were just talking about the 14th Amendment, which is trending, which is has a clause that says that anybody running or no one in America convicted of insurrection can be is allowed to run for office. What do you think? What do you think of that? So it's trending today because obviously all the people who attended the Capitol riots are now being called insurrectionists, although not everybody has been convicted. There have been over 700 arrests. What do you think? If you were somebody who kicked through the door and you smeared your poop on the walls of Congress, don't you think well, I don't want to put things in your head, but you should be banned from running from office, right? If we have that already in the 14th Amendment, which was enacted in, I think, 1868, if it's been that long that it's been, you got to use that one, right? You got to say, sorry, dude.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
It's just, and I was also saying that, just because you attended the January 6th insurrection of 1 year ago today, that doesn't make you an insurrectionist. It makes you an American who showed up for a political rally and a protest. And just because you were there doesn't mean that you were one of the people who were intending to hang Mike Pence. A lot of people showed up just because they were angry. And that doesn't make them bad people. Not everybody went inside. See, that's my point. A lot of people just went home. A lot of people were like, all right, rally's over. There's this march leading from the mall to Congress. I'll march with them for a while, but then, yeah, that's about it. I mean, there were the vast majority of people did that. The vast majority of people who showed up that day did not storm Congress, but a lot of them did. Thousands of them did.
Yeah. It's still kind of hard to believe it was just a year ago. It seems like a lot longer than that in some ways, and then a lot shorter than that in others.
Did you, how did you consume that day? Did you, I told people I didn't go to work that day. I stayed in, because it wasn't really until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night when we were all insured that America was still America. But there were serious moments between 1 p.m. Central Standard Time and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, where, all I could remember was that back in the early 90s, watching the Soviet citizens storm the Russian the Soviet parliament, and then boom, it was over. It was the end of communism. It was the end of the Soviet Union. And for a lot of us who remember watching that, it looked very similar. And I was like, holy shit, what kind of America are we going to wake up to tomorrow? So, I mean, how did you watch it? I watched the whole thing.
I mean, I remember watching on TV. It felt like a third world country,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know.
That's why it's so
It
horrifying.
did for a while.
Supposed to be
Although
better than that.
I will say, being here in Dallas, I felt distance from it.
Yeah.
It was like happening, even though it was kind of happening here. It still felt like, well, it's
Well,
in Washington. It's not here.
if you believe the arrests, certainly a lot of our North Texas partners, citizens, friends, whatever you want to call them, they were there.
Hmm.
Probably more people from this neighborhood here than the south side of Chicago neighborhood I was in were in attendance. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I agree with that. Well, I don't know if it's actually this neighborhood, but yes,
Right.
this area.
No, people
Yeah.
from this neighborhood did not go, but they did provide their Lear jets for people in Plano and Frisco who
Hmm.
wanted to go. That's people in
Or
this neighborhood
funding to get
funding.
people there.
Yes. Oh, that is no joke. Uh, 2 people in this neighborhood are accused. Now that I'm remembering this, 2 people that live in Highland Park, Texas, are being accused of funding that. And one of the biggest. Remember that crazy kooky lawyer lady who was she was with Lynn Wood, and I can't even remember her name.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yep. I don't remember her name, but I do remember the crazy kooky lawyer.
I mean, she was totally dismissed. And she's gone. She's fallen under her rock now, or whatever. Dude, her law office is at the corner of Lomo Alto and Lemon. That's where her law office is. She lives in this neighborhood. I'm like, holy shit. Because I saw an interview with her, and it said that they showed her neighborhood and all this stuff, and then they showed her law offices. And it's that building, right? Like right down the street. You'll see it. It's across the street from Whole Foods. She had her law
Hmm.
office in there. I don't know if it's still there, but it was at the time. I'm like, hey, that's my neighborhood. What was her name? Do we have? Let's see if anybody in the chat room knows her name. Yeah, I don't know. All right. So, and the last thing, not the last thing, but here's another thing that I wanted to get into here. This is something that was released. I hate to even say it, but Daniel Dale of CNN did a fact check session on the lies that were pushed out about the insurrection of January 1st and the truth. The truth of it. So, well, but it's CNN, Pug. Yeah, I know. We don't believe in institutions and we don't believe anything anymore, right? So lie one, rioters were unarmed. These protesters were peaceful and they were unarmed. Remember, that's something that we still hear. That, well, it's not like they opened fire. The truth of that is that let's see here. More than 75 of the people charged so far had among them charges possessing a firearm or a dangerous weapon on Capitol grounds. So people did bring their guns.
Yeah. Well, you saw them. I mean, they just didn't appear out of nowhere.
And they just didn't open fire on the crowd because the crowd were all their people. If they had gotten in, if they had gotten close to the chambers, who knows what would have happened. But the idea that's put out there that they were peaceful and unarmed, that's not true. That is just not true. Lie number 2, they were protesting a rigged election. That's certainly the impetus for the whole thing.
Yeah, rigged with one part of the ballot was rigged and all the rest of them were fine.
Jeff Glenn nailed it. Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is the Highland Park attorney. Thank you. April Michelle, not Jen Ellis, but yeah, Jen Ellis is another one of those crazy ones. Sidney Powell is the one that I was talking about. They were protesting a rigged election. The truth is that there have been no evidence in dozens of federal cases overseen almost entirely by Trump-appointed federal judges and multiple state audits that have turned up any evidence whatsoever supporting that it was a rigged election. They've gone to court in a million different cases, and every time it's been, you got to have evidence if you're going to bring charges.
Well, the thing about it is like, okay, there was a ballot, and on that ballot, reality is the Republicans closed the gap on, the House and the Senate, and somehow just the president's election was rigged?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you're willing to accept all the other results, but that top line, that was the one they figured out a way to cheat?
Doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
And Trump was encouraging people. This was another thing that was interesting about that whole rigged election. The reason Trump didn't get a whole bunch of support from state legislatures and stuff is because a number of the people in those state legislatures also just won re-election. And if they're saying it was rigged, they're questioning their own election.
Right.
It's like, what? What do you mean it was just so the down ballot was legit, but just the top of the ballot was rigged? That's so they couldn't give him the support that he wanted. They
I
were
mean,
like,
and even just think of, like, how complicated it would be just to change the top. It's like, "Okay, we're gonna keep these ballots, and these are all good, and the top one, somehow we're gonna flim flam." I don't
yeah, it doesn't
I
make
don't
any
know.
sense. Also, the here in Texas, here in the great state of Texas, you may remember a few months back, Governor Abbott, they launched their own audit,
Mm.
a state Trump won, which was at the time people went, "What? Why would you do that? He won this state. Why the hell would you do an audit?" Well, why did Abbott do an audit of a state that Trump won? Because people are dumb and the people who support Abbott are dumb, and he wanted a publicity moment where he could say, "Look at me fighting for Trump. So when you go to the ballot box, remember I'm the guy that fought for Trump." And guess what that audit turned out? Quietly, it was I believe it was, yes, it was the results of the Texas audit were released at 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve. That is known as a news dump. That is when you release something that you don't want anyone to know about. 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve. Nobody's watching the news on New Year's Eve. Nobody's tuning into, the 10 p.m. local news. Everybody goes pretty much into a news blackout for 2 days. It's all football the next day. And they released the results of the Texas audit for the 2020 election that Abbott had pushed. And they released it at 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And guess what the results were?
I'm imagining that there were votes that went the wrong direction.
Yeah, they did. They did. There
Right.
were actually votes that went in the wrong direction. And the end result of the Texas audit was, yeah, it was pretty much on the up and up here. There were no problems here. And Abbott hasn't spoken of it, and they dumped that in a news cycle that nobody paid attention to. I mean, they had it for weeks. They just decided, let's release this on New Year's Eve. Let's release this when nobody's going to know it. So that now there's a bunch of people still walking around going, oh no, there's an ongoing audit in Texas. We're going to find out. And it's like, no, there's not. That was been resolved. It's just that you were already drunk when that news came out on New Year's Eve, and you have no idea what happened. Line number 3, rioters were invited into the Capitol by police. The truth of that is that tell that to the dead cop. And actually, the police had been involved in a standoff for hours and hours with the protesters before they came in. And the fact that they were eventually got in was due to the fact that the police were way outnumbered, and it wasn't a, hey, come on in. It was a retreat. The Capitol Police themselves say that we didn't let anybody in. We retreated for our own safety. We were getting our asses kicked. That's what it was. They weren't invited in. But it is convenient to say, well, there was no gunfight on the steps of the Capitol. Yeah, because there was 10,000 of you and there was only 100 police officers. I mean,
Yeah, and I think there was one, like, hallway where there were, like, 50 of the police officers with their shields and their helmets and their billy clubs, like, all gathered in this hallway outside, and it was like a, football offensive, defensive line,
yeah, yeah.
and if they looked like they were inviting them in, I just you need to watch that video.
Yeah, famously in that video, you see Officer Fanone, who has been turned into one of the worst people in America by Fox News and OAN, the cop been a cop. What happened to Back to Blue? Been a cop for years and years, was doing his duty trying to defend Congress. That's his job as a Capitol Police officer. And in what you're describing is where the video of him being crushed in the doors by protesters. He was on the inside. He was trying to keep the door closed. He got in between the door and they started crushing him. I don't think that the January 6th deniers have ever watched any of the videos. I think that they purposefully are remaining willfully ignorant of the facts because the facts do not jive with what they need to tell themselves in order to be content with what they did. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to see it. They won't see it. They
Well,
won't
even
watch
if they do see it, they don't see it as Republicans. They see it as Democrats that were hired to create this disturbance to make the Republicans look bad.
Look at you. Are you reading my notes? That's lie 5. This was a false flag attack perpetrated by Democrats and Antifa. That's what they said. That's what they believe. The truth is that out of the 700 people who were arrested and charged, not a single one has been found to have any left-leaning affiliations in their history, and almost all have long demonstrated support of Donald Trump, whether it's through their social media or it's through text or it's through whatever. It wasn't Antifa. Nice try. I mean, God, this is the problem with the current Republican Party. They have no respect for their electorate. They have no respect for their base. They believe that they can say what you saw wasn't 10,000 people and not 10,000. I'm throwing that number out. I don't know how many people it was. What you saw wasn't thousands of people wearing red hats and waving Trump banners and building gallows to kill Mike Pence. That's not what you saw. What you saw were thousands of hired Democratic activists posing as. Imagine saying that with a straight face and trying to imagine being somebody who hears that from, a Josh Howley or whoever and goes, that checks out. That makes sense. There's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with the way your brain works. If you hear that and go, yeah, I can totally see how they would hire thousands and thousands of Democrats to pose as, stop it. And not only that, but now, we hear from these people. We hear from these people all the time when they go to jail. They're all saying, none of them has said, not one single person has said now, a year later, that's right, I'm actually a member of Antifa. No, they're all like, well, I've kind of lost my faith in President Trump. That's what you're hearing.
Right.
You're not hearing the other thing. I'm sorry that I did this. I was crazy. I don't know. Those people, okay. If that's what you're saying, good for you.
You think they'd be able to produce some checks if it were true that they were actually hired?
Right. Where is the money? There is always a money trail. George Soros.
Right.
Give everybody.
They gave everybody cash.
Gave everybody free insurance. That's what George Soros did. I'm going to give you free health insurance if you dress up like a Trump supporter and storm the Capitol. In live 5 that was told by Republicans in the aftermath is that jailed rioters are nonviolent political prisoners. That the people who were arrested and jailed are nonviolent political prisoners. The truth of that is that of the 700 plus people who were arrested, most were released within 48 hours of their arrests. The vast majority of people who were arrested that day were released within 48 hours. Those were the ones who were deemed to be nonviolent. The ones who remained in jail were the ones that were found with weapons, that were found doing things inside the Capitol, that were, the real troublemakers, the people who were assaulting police officers. The only people who still remain in jail for their actions on January 6th are not the nonviolent ones. The nonviolent ones have all been let go. There's only like a couple dozen people still in prison. 700 people were arrested. The people who remain in prison are the truly dangerous ones who are being charged with violent crimes. All of the people who were arrested and released within 48 hours, they were people who were simply charged with trespassing on federal property, non-violent charges. But if you were also tagged with a You had a weapon, you had a club, you broke a window, you attacked a cop. Here's the video of you attacking a cop. Those are the people who are still in prison, and they're not nonviolent political prisoners.
And there are people that are looking to ultimately realizing they are going to get some prison time, using this as time served.
Yeah, there you go. and
Well, you know what I mean?
Like
that was a few of the most recent guys. They were like, okay, let's let them go for time served.
Now, this is the last thing that we're going to say on this. And I wanted to play this because this is trending, and I thought this was very interesting. I don't, and I want you to watch it, and I want you to tell me what you think of this, and then we'll have a little discussion. Ted Cruz is trending. Do you know why Ted Cruz is trending? I mean, have you
God
seen
knows.
it?
I don't.
Yeah, for any reason, right?
Right.
Ted Cruz is trending because of this. This is what he said last night. Here you go.
Solemn anniversary this week, and it is an anniversary of a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, where we saw the men and women of law enforcement demonstrate incredible courage, incredible bravery, risk their lives to defend the men and women who serve in this Capitol. We are grateful for that courage. We appreciate the selfless sacrifice of the men and women who keep us safe. Solemn anniversary this week, and it is an anniversary of a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol.
All right, and there you go. That's why Ted Cruz is trending. Ted Cruz is trending because he spoke out last night. It wasn't peaceful tourists the way some of his brethren there in his party have been trying to portray it. Ted Cruz came out last night and called it what it was. Called it what we've all been calling.
Yeah, but he's not calling it what it was when it comes to voting.
Oh, you talking about the whether or not the election was rigged or whatever? Okay,
Yeah.
but let's say that's a different issue. Let's stay on this issue because here's why he's trending. Here's why Ted Cruz is trending. Because most people believe he just slit his own throat. If those crazy people do not support Ted Cruz, if he's turning now on the crazy people and calling them violent terrorists, he didn't dumb it down, or he didn't simplify it, or maybe make it a little bit more lacy by referring to them as aggravated insurrectionists. He called them violent terrorists. Those are the people who vote for him. Ted Cruz will never get a Democrat vote. He will never. He's done too much over there. And now he's completely burned the bridge to the only electorate that could ever possibly support him. So people are like, what the hell? Our boy Ed was the guy who actually hit me to this. Right after he said it, Ed was all over it. Ed tweeted that out last night, right after Ted Cruz said it. And Ed's comment was, well, I guess Ted Cruz will never be president. And he's absolutely right. Because what he said right there, I mean, who would elect Ted Cruz? Who are the people that would vote for a crazy person like Ted Cruz? Wait a second. I am not Jeff Glenn. I am not I am not defending the guy. I am saying, what is he doing? What I want to discuss is, what is the calculus that he's employing here? Because Ted Cruz does nothing out of righteousness. Ted Cruz does nothing out of this is the right thing to do. Ted Cruz is self-serving. He has proved it time and time. Well, I mean, most recently he went to Cancun when his entire state was freezing over. Instead of staying here with his people, he went to Cancun. So Ted Cruz is a self-serving son of a bitch, a duplicitous prick. And if he can't, why did he decide? This is not in his best interest for any future electoral successes. This is not a good thing. This is not a good look on Ted Cruz Nation, if you will. So what do you think he's thinking? Because I have a real serious thought.
I don't know. I mean, to me, he just looks like, a guy coming to the party late, trying to, get some sympathy or look like he's caring about the Capitol Police, when reality is he hasn't said crap for a whole year.
He's a savvy guy. People that hate Ted Cruz. I don't care what you say about Ted Cruz. He's clever. he's savvy, and he's brilliant. He is a very smart man. You don't have to be a good person to be smart. They're evil geniuses in this world. Ted Cruz knows what he's doing. Ted Cruz doesn't make mistakes. I just can't. I guess I'm just not smart enough to figure out exactly what he's thinking. Jeff Glenn has a very interesting point here. Jeff Glenn says, I think Cruz is trying to position himself now as the non-Trump conservative presidential candidate. A return to conservatism. And yeah, that it may be a situation where Ted Cruz, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The last couple of days have not been good for the crazy MAGA wing, the Q wing of the Republican Party. I think Ted Cruz might be seeing the tea leaves and going, you know what? Okay, so this madness that we've all engaged in because it served us, because it was what our electorate was into, this madness seems to be coming to an end. It seems that history is beginning to view that whole situation as a clusterfuck of monumental proportions and an embarrassment to the history and legacy of the United States of America. And I think Ted Cruz is going, I'm going to get out in front of this. I'm going to say this now on the anniversary because I believe that a year from now that the pendulum will have swung, where the Conservative Party will be thirsty to return to the old Ted Cruz of, the guy who ran against Trump, the guy who said that Trump was a con man and all. Remember?
Right.
Right. And then when it seemed inevitable that this Trump wave was going to take over the GOP, what did he do? Because he's feckless and spineless and doesn't have any courage of his convictions, he went all in with Trump. And now he sees that it's kind of swinging back the other way, and he's trying to get out in front of it. That is interesting. And I think that's kind of what Jeff Glenn is saying. But here's what I think. I think that after Merrick Garland's speech yesterday, the signals that Merrick Garland put out to everybody, people like Ted Cruz, I think that Ted Cruz knows that the hammer's going to come down on some very big names, that the United States Justice Department is going to start putting people in handcuffs who are elected officials, who are important in the party. And I think he thinks in some way he might be complicit because the January 6th Commission has already mentioned Ted Cruz and some of the things that he has said. And I think that he might be attempting some sort of preemptive defense for 6 months from now when he's got to face charges or whatever. He's trying to lay the groundwork to say, no, here's what I said. This is what I believe. I think that might be a big part of it.
Is it me or that Merrick Garland guy? Like, if I was a hardened mafia crime boss, he's not scary to me.
Well, he's not. He's a turtle. That's what and I've been very hard on Merrick Garland on this show for the last couple of months because I've been saying he's hiding in his turtle shell. He's not doing anything. But then he came out and he gave that speech yesterday. And then I was able to see a whole bunch of stuff about Merrick Garland that I did not know. And I mentioned this earlier on the show before you joined us. Merrick Garland, going all the way back, Merrick Garland was the guy who brought flawless and easily convictable charges and ran the case against Timothy McVeigh, Terry Nichols, the Unabomber. He got all of these people, and he was in charge of that investigation. And one of the things that people started saying about Merrick Garland yesterday after the speech was, you guys need to remember, back during those investigations, Merrick Garland was criticized for not doing enough in that investigation. He was criticized for not seeming to care, for not bringing charges. And the reason is because Merrick Garland investigations do not leak. Nothing ever leaks out. Now, the reason that we know things are happening in other investigations is because people inevitably leak to the media. Yes, well, here's what we're doing, so just sit tight. Merrick Garland's history is that he gets convictions, he brings the hammer, and the shit comes out of nowhere because everybody, there was actually an article from the New York Times about the Unabomber case, about how Merrick Garland was being criticized and they were asking him to step down and be replaced and all this stuff because he didn't seem to really care, that he didn't seem to really be involved and it wasn't his major thing. And that wasn't the case at all. It's just that there was a brick wall around the investigation and nobody could get anything out of it. So the assumption on the part of the media reporting on it was he's not doing anything. When in reality, he was doing a lot.
I hope that's the case because he hasn't really impressed. Not that I matter, but I mean, it just seems to me like he's kind of just been soft shoeing everything.
Well, it did, but didn't the speech, I mean, yesterday during that speech, it came out of nowhere. And it was after months and months of being silent. And he's not a media whore, for one thing. He's not a guy that comes out, he's not Bill Barr. He doesn't come out and give press
No,
conferences.
that's another, thank God. Right.
And because he's so such a contradiction to the way Bill Barr ran the Justice Department, it seems like he's maybe not doing anything. And that's why I'd called him feckless. I'd called him all of these things that I was not impressed by. And then yesterday he comes out and he gives this press conference and he says in no uncertain terms, calm down. I know you people think that I'm not, again, I'm not shelling it. This is not his exact words. He's a much more beautiful speaker than I am. He's highly educated. Calm down. It's not what you think. I can assure you that we are working on this and that this is the thing that he said that made everybody and myself go, okay, Merrick, thank you. Thank you for saying that. When he said there is no level of involvement that we will not pursue charges against. No level, meaning
that sounded to me like he was tipping his hat to Trump, but I don't know. We'll see.
Politicians, whether you're talking about Gosar or Howley or MTG or Lorena Boebert, the girl who cut John Bobbert's stick off. I always get her confused with the Colorado Congresswoman. She's hot too. The Colorado Congressman, crazy as a loon, but definitely hot. Yeah, those people indefinitely, Trump and the Trump family and all of that kind of stuff. And it is believed that is one of the reasons, no, not the sole reason, but one of the reasons why Trump canceled his press conference today. Trump was supposed to do a press conference today from Mar-a-Lago where he was going to give his side everything. And, it's like Merrick Garland comes out and it's like, okay, he's now basically said that he's looking into your involvement. Maybe you ought to shut the fuck up. Maybe you ought to just sit back and start working on a defense, because it sounds like the Justice Department just signaled that you're in the crosshairs and that we shouldn't think that it's only going to be the 700 or so people who are arrested. That was always my problem with Merrick Garland. I'm like, stop giving us the Jenna Ryans. Stop giving us the low-hanging fruit. Give us the people who were above her. Give us the people who put the rally together. Give us the politicians who gave tours to insurrectionists the day before, showing them, okay, this is where this is. And when you come in, this is where, that is literally what Lorraine Boebert, whatever, did. She took 10 people who were leaders of the insurrection, Proud Boys or whatever. She took these people on a guided tour of the Capitol on January 5th. And she showed them exactly where everything was so that when they stormed in, they would know where to go. Because if I stormed the Capitol, I've never been there, I wouldn't know where anything is. Let's go up these stairs. You know what I mean?
Right.
But she gave them a guided tour. She laid out a map for them so that they would know how to get immediately to the chambers, because time would be of the essence once you breached the walls.
I thought one of the nails in the coffin for Trump yesterday, if somebody were to ultimately pursue him, is when the Grisham chick said that, yeah, he was watching.
Yeah.
He was watching the whole time.
Yeah, his press secretary. She's awful, Stephanie Grisham. She is awful, but she is turned. She is completely turned. She's like, I regret. She wrote in her book that was just released a couple of months ago that it's the most regrettable decision of her life and the most regrettable experience of her life, being involved with that. But if you remember, when she was there, she was all in. That bitch was all in when she was there. So cry me a river, baby. I don't give a shit what you say in your posthumous, administration memoir. I don't give a shit. When the rubber hit the road, you were a bitch. When the rubber hit the road, you were on team treason.
Well, but that's what I think makes it even worse, because she was like that. And then, if you were holding out any hope that, maybe Trump didn't know or he wasn't, apprised of the situation very quickly, she just dashed all of that yesterday, to the point where you're like, okay, so this guy is sitting there watching this, eating it up, happy that it's going on. And I think therein, I was never a Trump fan, obviously, but therein, it's like, okay, now I feel really justified in my thought process of what I've felt about this guy for a long time. Like knowing that he was watching and seeing this go on, and knowing that Mark Meadows is getting these texts from the Fox News, group, and everybody's like, hey, tell Trump to step in and do something. And he sat there and did nothing. Yeah.
Certainly that would tip it over the scales. But I mean, look, I've lived in America for the last 50 some years of my life. I've known Donald Trump was a clown show since the 1980s. The guy was silly. He was just silly. He was an entertainer. He was a funny American billionaire. And you weren't supposed to take him serious. He was, he's out there. He's running around with Marla Maples and he's hosting a TV game show. It's like he's silly. He was a silly man, not a serious person. And that's why the idea of him running when it came down that escalator was so preposterous that I actually applauded it. I remember going, yeah, then throw a monkey wrench into that whole Republican side. I thought it was funny. And then it was just heartbreaking to me when I realized that there are a whole lot of Americans who can't spot a con. There are a whole lot of Americans who hadn't been looking at this guy for 30 years and going, he is a world-class bullshit artist. He's always been a world-class bullshit artist.
Oh, no doubt. Like, that was the whole reason that I didn't like him from day one. I mean, I kind of like you. It was fun watching him. Yeah. But when it got to the point where I was like, are you kidding me? He's going to make it?
He's going to win? What the hell is that? Well, and that was very depressing to me because you and I are of the same mind. And everybody I knew, everybody I was friends with, everybody that I would be, of intellectual comparable to, you could spot that con. You knew that guy who'd been bankrupt a bunch of times and who inherited his money was a silver spoon. You just knew he was a con and you couldn't be trusted, so you laughed at him. But then the realization that there was a huge portion of America who couldn't see that, who was just
it was like the debates. The debates turned into almost like the WWE.
Yeah.
It was like every weekend, like Trump was coming out and like stomping another one, and creating a nickname for this one and, saying something bad about that one. And then it just got to the point where, and then even just before the election, he was like, this thing's rigged and I'm going to lose. And
it's totally rigged,
and da-da-da-da-da. And, this is all just a bunch of crap. And it's just,
I don't get it. I mean, I guess I do get it because there are a lot of extremely successful cons in this country. Was it P.T. Barnum who said there's a sucker born every minute? I guess you and I aren't one of those suckers. I guess you and I are the people that when something seems too good to be true, we can go, yeah, this guy, I don't think this guy's being straight with me. I don't think this, you and I know a number of con men. And we have regular,
con before.
Well, to a lesser level, maybe. Yeah. But we know these people are con men. These people that we choose in some instances to associate ourselves with. You don't fly too close to the flame. You don't want your moth wings burned off. But you know that this guy is full of shit. But okay, in the moment, this might be beneficial to my immediate set of circumstances. So I'm going to skate with this con man for a little bit. But as soon as he asked me to, loan him $1,000, yeah, I'm out. I'm out because you will never see that money again. It's just upsetting. It's just upsetting that it's such a silly, ridiculous man who is like a cartoon character of a human being that most people didn't spot that in 1990. I mean, in 1990. A great story about Donald Trump. We used to have, especially in the early days, a regular on our show. We used to have Mark Cuban on our show all the time on 105.3. And one of the first things, Trump was in the news for something, and Cuban was sitting in. And on this occasion, he actually sat in for the majority of the show. So Sybil is doing her news, and a Donald Trump story comes up, and Mark Cuban goes, "Hey, guys, I got a great Donald Trump story." And we're like, oh, really? Okay. Now, look, it's obvious, well known that Mark Cuban does not like Donald Trump.
No.
And he has never liked Donald Trump. And this goes back to, story's probably from 2002, 2003. So all the way back then, this is Mark Cuban telling a story about Donald Trump. So Mark Cuban tells a story of how Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago back then invited all the young new tech billionaires to a free weekend. He created what was it, like a weekend, kind of like where let's get everybody together. I'm going to host it. You can use these facilities. You can compare ideas. You can one of these things, right? So Trump invited all of these .com new money billionaires of the like of a Mark Cuban. And obviously it was so that Trump could kind of
Rub elbows with them.
With real money, right? Not the pretend money, the bankruptcy money, the casino money that failed. He was in this particular time. He still had his image and he still had his brand, but his financial situation was not good. So the idea, and this is essentially what Cuban was saying, he just wanted to get a bunch of big money around, a bunch of big money, big young money around, and he thought that he could dupe us out of loans. He thought that he could just, hey, I think what you're doing is really great. Why don't we do something? How about you give me this? That was probably what he was thinking. However, the story that Cuban told on the air was they were laying around by the pool, and it was Mark Cuban and Michael Dell of Dell Computers. And they were just having drinks, laying by the pool, and there was a number of other people. And Donald Trump comes out on a veranda, and it was the first time that they had seen him. It was like they had arrived and Trump had been scarce. But now that all of these people were hanging out by the pool, Trump, in what he described as a gold velvet bathrobe, emerges on this balcony above all of these Michael Dells and Mark Cubans, these young men who are billionaires. And he says, "Welcome to Mar-a-Lago. It's nice, huh? Maybe one day you guys can have something like this." And Mark Cuban said that Michael Dell looked up at him and said, "I could buy you 10 times over, old man." It's so brilliant. It's so true. He was such a fraud. But the arrogance of him in 2000, I don't know when this was. I know the story was told in about 2002 or 2003. So this may have been in the late 90s or maybe even whatever. But it was so funny that he thought that he was going to use cult of personality to steamroll the Michael Dells and the Sergey Brins and, whoever it was, the Google people, the Amazon, a young Bezos, right? He had all of these people there. And he thought that he could impress them with his bullshit and his cult of personality. And these guys were like, "You're like a real estate guy. You're like only worth a couple $100 million. We're like, we all got multiple billions.
And you're leveraged up to your ass in alligators.
What are you talking about, old man? I could buy you 10 times over, old man." And apparently, I left out the best part of it. Apparently, when Michael Dell yelled that at Trump, everybody started laughing. Everybody. And Trump turned and sheepishly walked back in. It was like he was bum rushed off. He was humiliated to the point where he just turned and walked back in. So it's a great Mark Cuban story about an incident with Donald Trump. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so let's get into a couple of things that are actually trending today. Payless is trending. Let's get into the non-politically divisive stuff. And I see it's late, and I know if you got to go, you can bolt out of here. But the last couple of days, I've been going late. I've been running the show late. Payless Shoe Source is trending. Do you remember Payless shoes?
I mean, yeah, I think they still have a spot over there off of 75 and Lemon by that Target.
Yeah, they don't. They're out of business. They filed bankruptcy, and now they're pretty much just actually, there may be one or so. You might be right, because I was actually reading up on them because I'm like, God, I can't remember the last time I bought shoes at a Payless. Payless was great because they had they always had buy one pair, get a pair free. And that's like, come on. So you get a pair of gym shoes and you get a pair of dress shoes. And they had Champion gym shoes. And I loved, this was in my early days of running. I bought a pair of Champion gym shoes because somebody said, you got to get the Champion ultralights because they only cost like $40 and they're as good, or they're as light and as good for running as, Nike shoes that'll run you $200, that kind of thing. So I specifically went to Payless to get some Champion gym shoes, and I ended up buying like 3 pairs. And they're my favorite shoe. They are my favorite gym shoes. They're super. Now they did, the sole wore out. The sole, there was a hole in the bottom, but still, I liked the shoes. The shoes were great, and they were cheap enough that you could replace them after a year of running. Why not? Instead of $200. Payless is trending because people are pining for the days of the 2-for-1 shoes, where you could buy a pair of gym shoes and a pair of dress shoes, and they had all kinds of name brand stuff that were, like, it's almost like how Marshalls has name brand stuff, like they had good shoes that were overstock or whatever. And so you could usually get a whole bunch of good stuff at Payless. People are pining for the greatness of Payless. And a lot of other people are, just saying, well, y'all didn't support them. They went bankrupt. So what is this bullshit now where y'all want to go to Payless? And apparently they're an e-commerce site now. They're primarily an e-commerce site. You can buy their... that was another thing. Somebody tweeted, they said, you modern internet shoppers realize that you're getting the exact same quality of shoe when you buy from these internet shoe boutiques that you used to get at Payless. They're just charging you more. And it's probably true. Probably true. Although my Champion shoes, I love them. I love the Champion running shoes, but they wore out, if I'm being fair. Okay. Peter Bogdanovich is dead. 82-year-old Peter Bogdanovich died this morning in his Hollywood home. Natural causes. He wasn't skydiving or anything. He didn't go out Carradine style. He died. Now, do you know Peter Bogdanovich at all? Of course, he's the director, young hotshot director in the 1970s. Well, he was an assistant. Check this out. How would you like to be a young director and you have this? Okay, so his first job was as assistant and right-hand man to Roger Corman, one of the most prolific and great. Roger Corman created all the B movies. Any of the B movies from the 1960s, Amazon Women from My, whatever. Those are all Roger Corman had a monstrously successful production company that just churned out garbage, and he became very wealthy. A lot of people love Roger Corman because his movies have become cult classics and all that. Peter Bogdanovich started out as like a 20-year-old kid working for Roger Corman, and then he got traded up to the same position with Orson fucking Welles. Peter Bogdanovich became the director of Citizen Kane. He went from the Attack of the 30-Foot Woman to the guy who did Citizen Kane. Imagine that. Imagine.
Nice trade.
Yeah, well, you're certainly learning all aspects of filmmaking. You're learning filmmaking on the low end, and you're learning filmmaking on the high end. So he became Orson Welles' guy for a long time, confidant, closest friend. Orson Welles was a maniac too, so there's and then he made his first movie, and his first movie was Last Picture Show, which became a monster hit. Ryan O'Neal introduced the world to Sybil Shepherd. Of course, Last Picture Show. I think it was filmed in Wichita Falls, about a small town in Texas, and all that kind of stuff became a huge hit. He went on. He did What's Up, Doc, which is a great movie. I love that movie. Another Ryan O'Neal vehicle. He did Paper Moon, which was nominated for all kinds of Oscars. Another Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal. That's when Tatum O'Neal won the Oscar and became the youngest person in history to win the Oscar. That was Paper Moon. He had a really nice run in the 1970s. In the 1980s, he did Mask. Mask was a big movie. And then he stepped away. And then he stopped directing. And he started acting. And most people might know him. Peter Bogdanovich was Dr. Elliot Cuthbert from The Sopranos. He was in The Sopranos. He was Dr. Melfi's best friend and, psychologist. He was the psychiatrist in The Sopranos, psychiatrist. It's who Dr. Melfi would go to complain about her sessions with Tony Soprano. So he was a cool guy. Peter Bogdanovich was a cool guy. Famous for his... we talk about the great Hollywood swordsman. He was a great Hollywood swordsman. He was with Sybil Shepherd. Very famously, he stepped away from Hollywood in the 80s and almost completely stopped doing whatever it was he was doing after his fiance was murdered by her ex-husband in his house. Do you remember Dorothy Stratton, the Playboy Playmate star?
I don't.
Star 80 was the movie that was made about it, starring Eric Roberts and Mariel Hemingway. Dorothy Stratton was 1980 Playmate of the Year. She was Hugh Hefner's favorite. He says, my favorite Playmate of all time. She had moved on from Playmate of the Year into an acting career, and everything was looking great. And she started dating big-time director Peter Bogdanovich. They got engaged. And one night, her ex-husband, Paul Snyder, who didn't like that he got broken up with, he murdered her brutally at like 23, 24 years old, just kind of like a Sharon Tate thing. A woman that was expected to be this really big star who had a lot of heat on her in Hollywood. Yeah. So that's what he's famous for. His love life was very famous, but most interestingly, he was the man that was engaged to Dorothy Stratton when she was murdered. The movie Star 80 is all about that. Okay, what else is trending today? The Eagles are trending today. Why are the Eagles trending? The band, the Eagles. Do you like the Eagles?
I do.
I love the Eagles. I freaking love the Eagles. I've seen the Eagles 3 times. Most recently, Schwartz took me to see the Eagles. Schwartz and I went a couple of years back. Geez, probably almost 8 years now. Here at the United Center. I believe it was the hell froze over.
You mean at the AAC?
Did I say United States? Yeah, the airline place. That's probably the best way so I don't confuse them. I love the Eagles. The Eagles are one of the intro bands that I got my son into. My son, 12 years old, loves the Eagles. He can name half a dozen songs. He's I introduced him to the Eagles early. Like yesterday, I was saying how I'm waiting to introduce my son to Springsteen and bands like Springsteen and The Clash. And who was I talking about yesterday? I forgot who it was I was talking about yesterday, but whatever. I've got a list of bands that I'm waiting to introduce my son to until he's a little bit older and can understand and, basically appreciate the art better. But one of the first ones, man, it was Beatles and Eagles. I brainwashed him with Beatles and Eagles from the time that he was like 6 years old. And so now those are a part of his musical lexicon. Those are things that he understands. I love the Eagles. Why are they trending? Because they're going on tour again in 2022. Now, what? How can they go on tour? Glenn Frey is dead. Well, I'll tell you why. They have replaced Glenn Frey, the late, great Glenn Frey, with his son, Deacon Frey, which is always a nice move. I like when bands do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bonham did that, sure. There was a charity show a few years back where they reformed the Traveling Wilburys, or at least a portion of the Traveling Wilburys, and Danny Harrison, George Harrison's son, played with the remaining Wilburys, and that was nice. That was kind of cool. I like when they do this. So they went and got this Deacon Frey, which is a cool name. Deacon Frey. Isn't that a cool name?
Yeah.
What up, Deke? Deacon Frey.
My Eagles stories, I have 2. The one, I went to a charity function here called the Yellow Rose Gala years and years ago, and Don Henley was there and Stevie Nicks. Those were the 2.
Don Henley, local guy.
Yeah, local guy, and Stevie Nicks. Those were the 2 headliners for the charity. And then they're like, everybody, we have a little surprise for you. And they went backstage. The next thing you know, the Eagles came out. They hadn't played together yet at this point in time. And they played the Yellow Rose Gala. It's like the first time they got together. And then they announced that they were getting back together. And then when I had the suite at American Airlines Center, I think it was the very first night or the opening night of the AAC downtown was the Eagles concert. And
they opened it, huh?
And I think they opened up, if I recall correctly, I think they opened it up maybe 2 nights in a row or something like that. But those are the first couple times that I did actually get to see the Eagles when I was in Texas. I liked them when I was up north in Buffalo, but I never did get a chance to see them. But,
well, there's a lot of I talk about musical programming, about how anybody mentions Nickelback sucks. It's like, no, they don't suck. You've just been programmed to react that way to hearing the name of the band Nickelback. That's a very disingenuous reaction because they don't suck. They may not be what you like, but they don't suck. They play their instruments well. They write original songs. Right. What? You know who sucks? The garage band down the street. What are we talking about? That band, you're telling me that Nickelback sucks more than some punk band that can only play 2 chords? Stop it. It's a programming. It becomes popularly cool to shit on certain things, and we just do it without even thinking about it. Nickelback sucks! My son, I said this the other day when we were talking about Nickelback for some reason. A while back, my son was trying to burn me, and he goes, "You probably like Nickelback." And I said to him, I go, "That's programming. You don't even know who Nickelback is."
Right. If he heard a Nickelback song, he probably would like it, not knowing it's Nickelback.
He likes John Hinckley before he knew who John Hinckley was. He still likes John Hinckley. He likes the song that I use as our closing theme. He's like, "It's actually a pretty good song." I go, "Yes, it really is." And by the way, I decided that should I ever do any other ventures, I will be using John Hinckley as my closing theme, but I will not tell people first that it's John Hinckley, because I believe that over the course of time, people will go, "Hey man, what's that closing theme you use? That's pretty good." See, in our case here, everybody knew it was John Hinckley before we played it, right? We were tracking through it. We're like, let's listen to some John Hinckley stuff. I believe that people, if they didn't know it was John Hinckley, they would admit that that's a good song. But you get programmed because all he did was try to kill a president. Now suddenly it can't possibly be good. It can't possibly, because that guy is known for something else. But yeah, I think the Eagles fell into about, 20 years ago or so, fell into one of these things where a lot of people became programmed to just shit on the Eagles for no reason. And it's like, well, I guess the reason would be that they were immensely successful. That, a band that successful, the pendulum has to at some point swing the other way. Here it comes. And they weren't active, so they're easy targets because for 30 years they didn't speak. Or 20
Right.
years, whatever. Okay, so the new formed Eagles is actually a pretty cool lineup. It's Don Henley, of course. I mean, if both Henley and Fry were gone, then forget about it. I'm not involved. That's and Don Henley, he's got that voice. Don Henley's voice is so unique and so recognizable. If he's missing, that's bad. So the new Eagles, Don Henley, Joe Walsh, which is great that Joe Walsh is involved, because Joe Walsh is such a cool MFer on his own. Joe Walsh is so awesome. Don Henley, Joe Walsh, Timothy B. Schmidt, original. And they're joined by Deacon Fry, who is filling in for Glenn Fry, and Vince Gill. Vince Gill is now a member of the Eagles. Country Music Hall of Famer Vince Gill. I mean, one of the truly great country artists of the last. He was huge back in the day, man. And now Vince Gill is a member of the Eagles. So that'd be a pretty cool show. And when I say that people, just got programmed to shit on the Eagles, I pulled this up because I always find this to be really interesting. I'm going to read you a list of the 5 biggest selling albums in American history. Okay. These albums sold more copies in the United States of America than anybody else. Right. So we'll start with, we'll start with 6. Rumors, Fleetwood Mac, just to set the pace. You remember how big Rumors was for Fleetwood Mac? They didn't even crack the top 5 with that album. That Rumors, Fleetwood Mac is number 6. Number 5 best-selling albums in United States recording history. 1971's Led Zeppelin 4 has sold 24 million copies in the United States, and it's gone platinum 24 times. That's Zeppelin 4, man. I mean, people who love Zeppelin say that's their best one. That's when Zeppelin fully formed themselves into what would become Zeppelin. 1980. This would be number 4 in the list. 1980, number 4. AC/DC's Back in Black. 25 million copies sold in the United States, 25 times platinum. That was a great album. Dirty Deeds, Back in Black. That's just that album, man. I remember being 11 years old when that album came out. Yeah, that was ball rock. That was tactical, young man. Let's just get angry. Yeah, that was great. Number 3, and here's where it becomes the number 3 biggest selling album in U.S. history is 1976 Eagles' Hotel California. Sold 26 million copies, 26 times platinum. Number 2 best-selling album in American history is the Michael Jackson Thriller is the number 2 selling album in United States history. 34 million albums, 34 times platinum. So 8 times more success. My Thriller was 8 million more sales. That's 8 times more platinum than the Eagles, who came in at number 3 with Hotel California. And number 1 is
I'm going to guess.
Okay.
Metallica.
No.
No?
No. Number 1 from 1976, the Eagles' greatest hits. The Eagles are the number 1
Really?
and number 3 biggest selling. They are both bronze and gold on the medal stand as far as bands that have sold more albums in the United States of America. So Michael Jackson's Thriller was 34 times platinum at 34 million sales, 34 million copies sold. The Eagles' greatest hits, released in 1976, is 38 million sold, 38 times platinum. So, I mean, that's a pretty. Look,
I would have thought Metallica's Black album would have been on there somewhere.
I don't know. That's an interesting list to go through, though. That's always I've looked at that from time to time. The Wikipedia page on the greatest selling albums of all time. All right, what else is trending today? Yellowstone is trending. Yellowstone is trending today. Yellowstone, the TV show, the Paramount Plus TV show, a show that I'm really glad that, I consider myself a TV historian. I like to watch all the good peak TV. And for years, I think, what are we in season 5 now of Yellowstone? For years, people who I respect have been like, have you seen Yellowstone yet? Have you checked out Yellowstone? And I was always like, it's about ranchers, it stars Kevin Costner, which is cool, but it's about rural ranchers in Montana. And that just didn't, cowboys. It's about modern cowboys on a ranch in Montana. And it just didn't hold any interest to me. And then I read some article that was comparing Yellowstone to Succession, which Succession is my favorite show on television right now. And the article basically said Yellowstone is rural Succession. It is about a wealthy family and the battles among the children of Kevin Costner to see who's going to succeed him, who's going to take over the running of the Dutton Ranch, which is the largest ranch in America, this big, giant cattle ranch. So that intrigued me. So I watched a couple episodes of Yellowstone, and I'm up to speed. Over the last 2 months, I've watched every episode of every season. Season 4 just ended yesterday, or Sunday night, I believe it was, and I watched that last night. It's a great show. Yellowstone is undeniably such a cool show. And I now want to go to a rodeo. Have you ever been to a rodeo?
I have.
Did you know what you were looking at? Because I feel like now that I've watched Yellowstone, I could enjoy a rodeo and I will know what I'm looking at. Because I feel like before watching Yellowstone, if I went to a rodeo, I would just go, oh, okay, so what are these horses doing? But if you watch Yellowstone, you actually learn what the I understand barrel racing as a sport.
Well, you need to go to Mesquite then and go to the rodeo.
Well, a lot of the rodeo scenes, they drive down from Montana and they go to Fort Worth. Is there a Fort Worth rodeo or a big Fort Worth? Because
yeah, I'm sure
they're always in Fort Worth. I want to go to the Yellowstone rodeo, the one that's in Fort Worth, Texas. I now have, and you're a horseman, so this is pretty.
I'm not a horseman. I'm a thoroughbred horseman, a horse racing. I'm not Western.
No, I know. But what I mean is that you're involved. You understand horses, and I didn't understand horses at all. And so a distinction when they say Western riding, I don't know what that is. Now I know what Western riding is, and it's awesome. They show the things that they can get these beautiful animals to do.
They have a Western saddle as opposed to an English saddle.
Yeah, see, I don't know what that means. I just know that they make the horses do some unbelievably cool stuff. If I went to a rodeo and they were doing this thing that I'm about to describe and I hadn't seen Yellowstone, I'd go, I don't know what the hell the object of this is. What are they trying to do? But now because I watched Yellowstone, I understand that in the arena, when there's a guy on a horse on this side and a guy on a horse on this side, and there's a calf or a cattle or a cow or something in the middle, and the horses are going this way, and then the horses are going this, I understand what the competition is. The competition is that the cow is trying to escape. And the two men on horses are trying to show who can control their horse better and keeping that cow in the center before it escapes. And
Okay.
it's so unbelievably beautiful to watch. Have you ever seen the brake skids? Like where these Western guys, and we've seen it in Western films for years and just never thought anything of it until I'm watching Yellowstone and they're showing a guy trying to learn how to do it. And I'm like, whoa, I've been taking that move on a horse where the horse is running, and then the horse stops like immediately.
Like kind of like slides.
And almost sits on its butt for
Mhm.
like it slides down to its butt. I mean, I understand how points are taken away from that now. I understand what the judges are looking for. And just the ability to get these horses trained in such a way where, I mean, the horses, if this is a horse's head, they've got these horses doing stuff like this, going this way, going that way, going this way, I mean, really quickly, like they're controlling these horses like they're a machine, like they're using a gear. And it's not a gear. It's a thing with a brain who is, doing it. I don't know. I just love it. I just love the rodeo, and I want to go to the rodeo, and I want to take my kid to the rodeo now. Anyway, why is Yellowstone trending? Because Yellowstone set a record for the series season finale, which I think aired on Sunday night. 10.5 million viewers tuned in to the season 4 finale of Yellowstone, and it's the largest cable television audience to view something since the season 8 debut of The Walking Dead, which did 11 million people. So 11 million people tuned into the season 8 debut of Walking Dead, and this is why this is important. 10 million people tuned into the season 4 finale of Yellowstone. So if they're only 500,000 away from what Walking Dead did in their 8th season, what is the season 5 premiere of Yellowstone going to be? I mean, it took Walking Dead 8 seasons to get to 11. Yellowstone almost broke their record with a finale, not a premiere. Premieres typically do bigger numbers because everybody's optimistic and excited about the new season, and if they don't like it, they drop off, So, I mean, they did a finale. They held an audience. There's already 3 spinoffs currently airing on I got to check out 1883, which is the prequel series to the Dutton family in Montana, taking place in 1883. And then there's another one called The Four Sixes, which is coming next year. Are you familiar with The Four Sixes? I was talking about The Four Sixes with James. It's here in Texas. It's a big.
I'm not familiar with it, but I do think that all these television series at this moment, they need to have a little asterisk next to them because it is during COVID. And
Good
so
point. That's a good
people
point.
are
Yeah.
home a little bit more,
Yeah.
forced to do things a little bit more TV centric
Yeah.
than normally they would.
Yeah. But also, I'll counter that with, and you're right, I think that's a valid point. Season 8 of The Walking Dead was 10 years ago. There wasn't the same level of competition for network or for cable television. People hadn't fully embraced Hulu 10 years ago. They hadn't fully embraced Prime. They hadn't, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you're right. Your point is right. But I mean, there's a give and the take. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good show. And if you've been dragging your feet about checking it out, because everybody's talking about how good Yellowstone is, it's really good. It's not a stupid, it's not a stupid show like that. It's a really smart, incredibly well done, dramatic, sinister. Oh my God. These people, these Duttons, these rich ranchers, Kevin Costner is a mob boss. It's violent. There's murders. They have a cliff on their property where they just murder people and throw them off the cliff. And then they're never found because they're like in the middle of nowhere. And they call it going to the train station. If somebody crosses them, like they employ hundreds of people on the ranch, and they all live in ranch houses, or not ranch houses, but bunk houses, and they're cowboys. And when a cowboy does something wrong, Kevin Costner's family fires them and takes them to the train station. And taking them to the train station is code for driving them out to the middle of nowhere and throwing them off a cliff, shooting them in the head and throwing them off the cliff. The bodies are never found.
That is mob boss-esque.
Oh, Kevin Costner is a mob boss in this. He is. It's great. All right. What else do we have trending today? Christmas decorations, that's another thing that was trending, but we already talked about that because today is the day of, it is the Christian Epiphany, the Three Kings, the Feast of the Epiphany, which signals the end of the Christmas season and the traditional day by which you should have your Christmas decorations taken down. You got them down. Well, you were heading out of town, so that was the reason why you probably got yours taken down, but you took yours down very quick.
Yeah, I know it was earlier than that that you're speaking of, but I just wanted them down.
And it's not, you don't have to leave them up until the 6th, but what the rule is apparently with the Epiphany is they don't have them up after the 6th. Don't, if you've still got your Christmas stuff up, it is the Epiphany, the Feast of the Epiphany, Three Kings Day in the Catholic religion, is the official end of the Christmas season within the Christian church. It's over. It's on this day. This is the last day of the season. Get your shit done, and now let's move on. And now we count down till the next.
I noticed the house across the street, the guy that invented cotton, his plantation, they had the light taker downers up there until like
yesterday.
11:30, 12 o'clock at night. They were still out there.
Yeah, I was. But I was saying, I'm running now every night, getting my 3 miles in every night, and I was lamenting that I hope. It's so beautiful. I mean, the houses are still so beautiful. So many of these houses around here still have their, I mean, some are down, but so many of them with these extravagantly well done displays. They're still up. And I appreciate that because I like to wait until it's dark out and I run, and that's so pretty. These houses with these decorations. So I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss them when they're gone. What's the next one I have to look forward to? Do they do big St. Pat's Day stuff?
No,
Martin Luther King Day?
No, not really.
What do I have?
You'll get some July 4th kind of fireworks happening, but short of that, not really too much.
All right. Also trending today, Pittsburgh meteoroid. Did you hear about this? This was one, we don't pay any attention to these things.
No.
Meteoroid. Did you get that? There's no such word as a meteoroid. That's a combination of meteor and asteroid. But, I've heard people use the term meteoroid. It's not a commonly used term, but apparently it is a real term because in whatever, what is that? Stargazing, whatever. It's a real thing. It's like it's a meteor and an asteroid. Don't make me explain it. I don't understand it. But on New Year's Eve over Pittsburgh, there was an explosion of a meteor, and people just thought it was, a very big bomb that was exploded over Pittsburgh on New Year's Eve because people light off fireworks. It was an explosion, a blast that was equal to 30 tons of TNT over the city of Pittsburgh. Rattling windows, setting off car alarms, and it was a meteor that exploded upon impact with the Earth's atmosphere. It went ba-boom. Now, the reason I bring this up, because there was a story yesterday that was circulating about an asteroid that is heading towards Earth. Now, we see these all the time. Nothing gets you to click on shit more than, the news of our impending doom. And I went right past, I just scrolled right past it. And as I scrolled past that story, I went, isn't this how it starts? Isn't it? We all ignore it. Isn't this? We just think, it's nothing, right? First time you heard about COVID, it's nothing. This ain't going to turn into anything. First time we heard Donald Trump was running for president. That's nothing. Just scroll right past it. So I recently watched the new Adam McKay movie that debuted on Netflix. I watched it over New Year's weekend. Don't Look Up, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, Jennifer Lawrence. Oh my God, how many big freaking stars are in this huge movie, great movie, funny movie. Don't Look Up is, of course, about two scientists, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, who discover a massive asteroid the size of Mount Rushmore barreling towards Earth, which will make its impact in 6 months. Yeah, Jeff Glenn, Don't Look Up is good, which will make its impact on Earth within 6 months. And these scientists run to they go to all the right authorities, right? And they end up with the President of the United States, played by Meryl Streep, who is basically a Trumper type president. She doesn't want to
denier.
She's a denier. She's like, so that's why the title of in the 6 months that lead the scientists, DiCaprio and Lawrence, go out on a sort of a renegade world tour, trying to convince the world that it's coming. You people, you don't believe. And then you have Meryl Streep, who started her political party, started this whole thing in America called Don't Look Up. Just don't look up, because at some point within like 3 months, you could see it in the night sky coming. It was literally there heading towards Earth. You could see it once it got within like a couple million miles or something. You could see this giant fireball in the sky. And so their answer to it, the political answer to Meryl Streep, was don't look up. So they'd have these giant rallies, like Stop the Steal rallies kind of thing that we saw with these huge rallies where it was all, don't look up, don't look. They were just totally denying this thing that was coming at them. It's a very funny movie. And it is not about asteroids. If you haven't, it's Adam McKay. It's the guy who did The Big Short. It's the guy who did Vice, the Dick Cheney movie. This is not about an asteroid. This is about political disinformation and how so many of us, in the face of reality, are willing, out of political partisanship, to believe whatever feels right to us instead of completely denying what is actually about to happen. And it's very funny. It's very well done. Don't look up. And that's why I was thinking of that when this Pittsburgh media story was meteoroid. All right. So, you know what? I think that's going to be about it. We've gone a little bit late. Oh, no. I'm sorry. The big story that I want to get into. Let's do this, folks. We've been doing this now for the last number of shows. You may not even know this about me. I'm a big Bitcoin guy now. I don't know how involved you are in Bitcoin. Are you into Bitcoin?
Nope.
I'm a big Bitcoin guy.
Grandpa.
I would Bitcoin is trending today, folks. It is cratering. It is. Now, here I should say,
cratering, like it was like at 60,000, I think, for one coin at one point recently. Where's it at today?
66, 43. It was at 66 in November, and now it's cratering. It is down. It's down to 43 and plummeting.
Lost about a third.
It is, yeah. Oh, just went down again. I was talking about Bitcoin. I don't remember how we got into it. Oh yeah. I'm going to start a podcast where with me and a couple of other people for Ed's Misfits Network basically explain Bitcoin. And every single episode is going to be, well, just like the thing we were going to do with gambling, except forget about it. This is about Bitcoin instead. This is about me learning Bitcoin. And there are certain people, Aaron, our buddy Aaron's a big Bitcoin guy. He's involved in it. He's got all kinds of money wrapped up in it. He's going to be sort of with me, but then we're going to have experts on, like Bitcoin experts, people that James works with, all the financial guys that James works with and stuff like that.
I've listened to that. I don't know crap about it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, this is an entry level thing. This isn't about the X's and O's and strategy of Bitcoin. This is about what the fuck is Bitcoin? That's basically what this is about. And Adam Reyna, who is also, hopefully I'll have him involved in this. And so apparently Adam Reyna is a big Bitcoin devotee. And he sent me my first pieces of Bitcoin. He sent me some Bitcoin to the Cash App. And it was very nice of him.
So you own Bitcoin now?
I own Bitcoin. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I know it's cratering. I'm paying attention to it. And so I'm a big player in the Bitcoin market. My high amount of Bitcoin was $7.14. So I started out with $7.14 in Bitcoin.
And you've lost a third of your $7.14?
Yeah, I'm down to $6.65.
It's not a third, but a little bit.
Well, down a third from the 66. I didn't get in until like a week ago. So
okay.
Yeah, my amount is kind of cratering. We are now we're back up. We're back up to 667. It's such a weird phenomena because I don't even understand the stock market, but I do kind of understand this with this little app that I got on my phone that shows the amount of money in Bitcoin that I have. And then it shows like the graph of where it's going. And then there's a constantly, like on the stock market, there's a number that is constantly moving and changing with every sort. So here's what just went up a penny. We're now at 668. I'm getting back up.
You're talking your way into it. Like you got people going and investing.
I am getting back up to my, if I can just get to the $7.14 where it was when we really started this.
You're going to bail?
No, I'm gonna ride this out.
Oh, okay. You're going to leave that whole $7 at risk?
And I'll add to it. If I see it seems like something, but this is a very nice amount of money to watch while I'm trying to familiarize myself with what the hell this is. It's an insignificant amount of money. And it allows me to sort of understand on a smaller scale. Look, if this was $668,000, that's moronic because I don't know shit about it. But it's $6.68. I can afford to make mistakes with this. And Adam, my Bitcoin, my crypto keeper, don't look up was awful. Good Lord, it's the opposite of good. The satire is way too on the nose. Yeah, disagree. Me and Jeff Glenn disagree. Okay, but that's fine. That's why the world is what it is. You are allowed to. And besides, I love you, Adam Reyna, but you're pretty pessimistic about most of these kinds of things. You're not a lovingly appreciative guy, unless it's like some band that you like that nobody else has ever heard of. Then they're like the greatest thing. April agrees with him. April didn't like him. Well, I mean, look, that's fine. That's fine. I was making the case for Dirk Nowitzki being the greatest non-American born basketball player in NBA history yesterday. I was talking that up on the show. And of course, Adam is like, no, it's Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, okay, jeez, come on, man. He's my crypto keeper. So I am done. Years ago, I would happily go to war with Adam. But at this point in my life, I don't want to go to war with anybody. I just accept that there are people that I like that I disagree with all the time. And that's just how the world rolls. 667. See, me fighting with my crypto keeper, Adam Reyna, it just dropped me another penny.
Oh, yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So we're watching the crypto thing. That's it. And Bitcoin is trending because, as the headline here said, the shine is off Bitcoin. What we're waiting for is something that I actually understand now because every night I've been watching another documentary on it, trying to get some familiarity with what this shit's all about. We're waiting for something called the dip buyers to come to the rescue. Throughout the course,
when they're down, they buy the dip.
Yeah, and
then it drives it up.
Draws it all the way back up, and then we start the process all over again. And over the course of time, hopefully there are more dip buyers who come in and rescue than there are falls from heights. And that's
so like you can like there's other cryptocurrency like Dogecoin, and Ethereum,
yeah.
So you got to get up to speed on those.
I don't. Come on, give me a second here, right? That's what the show is going to be about. The show is going to be about I went with Bitcoin because it is the world acknowledged.
It's the brand.
Yes.
That's like the cryptocurrency brand.
Exactly. And I'm not going to buy any Dennis Rodman crypto or anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to stick with this until I understand what's 667. All right. We went down 666.
See, but it's like if you get a penny with some of these other ones when they're only worth a penny, I mean, that's like 100%.
You're shit out of luck. You're gone. Your money's
you're gone. You're off the market, the board.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I only have, it ain't too far to the basement when you start at $6.67. So I'm prepared for that. But, over time, we'll add a little bit here, a little bit there. We'll see. Maybe we'll see how this goes.
I bought some like crazy, like weed and like drug stocks.
Yeah.
And so like, those are ones that, I've
those
gotten
are stocks to buy.
Interested
how they been performing?
Not so good.
No. Well,
I got in at the top and they've kind of dipped.
Okay.
There's one that's traded on the stock exchange called Sundial. I think it's down to like 58 cents or something like that. And then there's another one called Trip and they were like mushrooms.
Yeah.
And that's like at 11 cents. So
look, the mushrooms and psychedelics, maybe you don't want to jump in. Maybe it's too early for that. But you ride this weed thing.
Or it wasn't Trip, it was called Truff. Like truffles. They made like psychedelic mushroom truffles. Right now it's trading at 10.5 cents.
I like the gummies. I like I like the weed gummies. Those are pretty good. We were talking about those yesterday. When Beto wins, governor of this great state, by the way, the only thing that's going to stop him from winning is a federalization of marijuana laws. And that's why Biden is not. This administration is not, as I said yesterday, this administration is not going to federally legalize marijuana while we're coming up on an election. And the reason is because it's mostly Democratic candidates who, in their states, are pushing the legal, like Beto. Like if Beto wins Texas, it's gonna be because people are like, yeah, I want legal weed. And like the Abbott guy is definitely not going to give you legal weed. So it's a way for him to win. Now imagine a week before Beto becomes, before the election, a week before the election, when he said he's going to legalize it. A week before the election, what if like Biden goes, all right, it's legal from coast to coast. Everybody's just going to vote for Abbott. There's no reason to vote for all of these progressive Democrats who are running on legalization tickets in their individual states or in their individual districts. There's no reason to elect them because, so that's why we won't get it federally. Certainly not until Texas. But hold on to your stocks, because I'm telling you, if Texas legalizes, woo, do you know what size of the marketplace we got here? That's suddenly going to be legal. Oh,
yeah, you just go to Oklahoma now. It's like going to WinStar.
Yeah, but Oklahoma is not a market. It is not a massive economy. Texas is a massive economy. Texas is California. I mean, when you begin to have, I believe it's the 5 largest economies in the country are California. Is it Texas second? California, Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, and Illinois. And I know Illinois is in there somewhere. Florida, maybe. I don't know, whatever. But almost all of those, when you get the 5 largest economies in the United States all legalizing it, holy shit, the stocks are going to go nuts. They're going to shoot right up. I mean, what do I know? I'm not exactly. This is just what I've heard.
Yeah, I think Colorado, it's like a $3 billion industry already.
Yeah, and Colorado has almost no population. Colorado's got Denver and it's got one city, but Colorado ain't Pennsylvania. Colorado ain't New York State. Colorado ain't Texas. Oh, my God. All right. I guess that's going to be it. We're going to end it here. Thank you so much for joining us on this January 6th day of, whatever. I don't even know what today is. What do we call it today? Let pull this up. We missed you last night on Pillow Talk as well. I'm just gonna keep sending you links, and if you can jump in, it's always good to have you. But I understand you're a busy guy, and
I got the kid this week.
A little bit difficult. He's
a little difficult.
How's
wife's in quarantine, so
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to mention it. How's she doing?
She's not felt really well for about 5 or 6 days, so she's going to get tested right now to see if she's still positive. But yeah,
dude, I was out running around yesterday and there was a traffic jam.
You see that line?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
They threw up a free COVID testing place at, like, what is it? Like maybe Lemon and Douglas?
Lemon and Douglas, and the line goes like all the way down to
Oak Lawn.
Oak Lawn.
Exactly. It's like the right lane of Lemon Avenue is essentially useless. It's just like trying to get into a concert.
It's a 2 hour. It was about 2 hour and 35 minutes, a 2 hour wait.
Oh my God. It is insane. All right. And as we talked about yesterday, a new variant dropped. So Omicron is 2019. We've got the new variant that is sweeping through India that people expect should be on our shores any day now. So we'll see how the new variant doesn't even have a name yet. They're still calling it like L56G. They'll come up with something. The Lego variant. So they'll come up with some catchy name. All right. Thank you.
We'll talk later.
Appreciate you. Bye. There he goes.
Things are going good. Always had to be on guard. That is understood. It has been a journey.
Join us tonight for Pillow Talk, 9:00. I've been having fun. I apologize for the last hour of Pillow Talk. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was just when I was hate watching myself, and it was all just me. And that's not to say that every time it's just me that I get very angry and pissed off, because that's not true. Because I like a number of these high noon shows that I've been doing by myself, but for some reason I fumbled the ball. I'm sorry, I had a bad game. The first hour was fine. Me and James, the first hour of Pillow Talk last night, that was fine. I had no real problems with that. Second hour, total garbage. My apologies.
A multi-answer test. I am on a never-ending.
It was such a weird situation too, because I had decided that for the last like 30, 40 minutes of that show last night that I would just do a segment, a topic, a piece of content that I had intended to be a discussion among, either me and Sunglasses, who just left, or James. And I found myself, because James had to go run off, he had to do something. His wife, he had to run off and do his wife, literally. So I found myself alone doing a segment that I had envisioned to do as a conversation piece with other people. And I wasn't feeling it. Like halfway into it, I'm not feeling it. And I can tell maybe you can't tell, but I can tell because I'm me and I know what was going on in my head. And I'm watching it on YouTube and I'm going, oh my God, listen to me. I'm rushing. Listen to me. Oh my God, I hate what I'm doing here. It is so obvious that I'm not comfortable with this.
Quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is.
It was a list of television shows that are coming to TV over the next year, 2022. It was a story about the most anticipated TV shows. And my point was that there truly seems to be a lack of uniqueness, originality, or creativity coming in 2022. And it looked like a fairly bad year for new TV series. I mean, dude, there is a show coming in 2022 called Bel Air, and it's a 1 hour dramedy. It is a 1 hour dramedy called Bel Air, and it's about an inner city rapper from Philadelphia who moves out to Bel Air, California, and lives with his wealthy uncle and aunt, and it's called Bel Air. It's an hour dramedy. That's right. It's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's from the creators of Fresh Prince. It is the exact same show. They just decided, instead of making it a sitcom, let's turn this into a This Is Us kind of bullshit.
Yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some.
So I apologize for that entire segment last night. Tonight's Pillow Talk should be better. Should be. I can't make empty promises anymore. Should be better. I expect it to be better. I expect better of myself. You should expect better of me as well. So please tune in tonight at 9 o'clock for the second stream of 2 streams that we do each and every day. We do the high noon stream right now. That's what you're hearing. We do this every day, Monday through Friday from noon till about 2 o'clock or whenever the hell we finish the last couple of days. We've been going a little bit later. And then we double back and we come back at 9 p.m. Central Time for what we call Pillow Talk. Please, hope you can join us.
I have got an old guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401. I don't have this.
I don't know what the hell is going on with this sun. Can you see? It's like,
Agreed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some.
Jeff Glenn, what the hell is gene IQ testing? Well, what is that? I've waited 8 days for results. And my results still aren't in. I tested December. What? I don't know what that is.
I can smile a little now. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. That is understood.
God!
Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on.
It's a COVID test. Okay, I got you. Thank you, Jeff.
Quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come.
Best to come.
I have found a different way. So baffling to some.
Whoa, whoa.
I can smile a little now. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard.
That is understood.
Down the road I'll travel, far from the
Comfort nest. John Hinckley's a poet, folks. There ain't no denying it. He coined the phrase comfort nest. I love that. That's where we do the show from. We do the show from the comfort nest.
Is another day. The best is yet to come.
Best to come.
I have found a different way. So baffling to some.
Wow, wow. I can't sing, but I'm telling you, if you could produce this up, if you were to get John, hey, John, okay, you want to give us another take on that? Get John in a studio, America's favorite failed presidential assassin and singer-songwriter, John Hinckley. You get him in a studio. This stuff, this is beautiful. This is art. Look, baby, I don't care about what you did 30 years ago, 40 years. I don't care. You're an artist. Let's make music. Let's make love to people's eardrums, baby. Come on.
Smile a little now. Things are going good.
Going good.
I always had to be on.
I'm not saying that I should produce it, but I'm saying as somebody with talent, somebody who knew how to produce. I mean, I'm just adding background vocals, and I think that there are some drum areas that could really add to everything. All right, that's gonna be it.
That is understood.
Understood.
Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.